Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're gliding into the hidden world of powerful winds, those invisible rivers in the sky that shape clouds, stir oceans, and whisper through forests. They move with a rhythm as old as the earth itself, threading through mountaintops and meadows, city rooftops and distant valleys, gently guiding the weather like a careful hand in the dark. Maybe your day has been long. Maybe your thoughts have been dancing too fast. Here, in this quiet corner of the sky, you don't have to think. You don't have to try. Just rest. How's the wind sounding where you are tonight? A soft breeze brushing your window. A quiet hush between the trees. Or maybe no sound at all, just stillness, holding the night like a gentle lullaby. If you find comfort in these peaceful weather journeys, feel free to like or subscribe, but only if it feels right for you. No pressure, just calm skies. Now, allow your body to soften. Let the breath become slower, deeper. Let the winds above carry your thoughts like leaves on the breeze. You're safe here, your home in the sky. Let's begin. Let's begin tonight with something quiet, yet vast. A whisper that circles the entire earth. A breath. Slow, steady, and invisible, yet always there. We're speaking, of course, about the global winds. Not just a breeze at your window or a gust across a field, but the great ribbons of air that gently sweep across continents and oceans, as if the planet itself is breathing in and then out. These winds form Earth's vast respiratory system, its way of exhaling warmth and inhaling coolness, of redistributing energy and moisture across its spinning surface. They begin with sunlight. Not everywhere receives the same amount. Near the equator, sunlight is strong and direct, warming the surface with soft intensity. Near the poles, the light arrives at a slant, cooler, dimmer, and so the air moves from the warm to the cold, always gently balancing. We call these motions the global circulation patterns. They form invisible belts of movement, the trade winds, the westerlies, and the polar easterlies, each with its own temperament, its own rhythm. Near the equator, the trade winds drift westward, softly guiding moisture from oceans onto land, feeding tropical rainforests and shaping cloud belts that stretch for thousands of miles. These are the warm sides of the planet, humid, comforting, and full of life. Above those, the westerlies take over, flowing from west to east, like invisible rivers twining around the globe. They cradle the paths of storms, steering them gently across land and sea. They carry clouds across skies, allowing one region to share its moisture with another. And farthest north and south, near the polar circles, the easterlies drift back again, closing the loop, completing the breath. It's easy to forget that this is always happening. Even when the sky seems still, the breath continues. Even when we sleep, the planet exhales. Sometimes these winds create gentle waves in the clouds, ripples of movement that shimmer at high altitudes. Sometimes they help sculpt great weather systems, like swirling cyclones or slow drifting highs. But always, their purpose is the same: balance. They are the great moderators, the atmospheric caretakers. Not too hot, not too cold, not too dry, not too wet. If you could watch from space, you would see these wind belts tracing soft curves around the planet, bands of motion, softly banding the Earth in atmospheric grace. Some fast, some slow, but all in harmony. They are not always loud, they are not always felt, but they are always there, like the rising and falling of a chest in slumber. A lullaby of motion in the vast cradle of air. And so, as you lie back tonight, perhaps you can imagine that the air around you is part of something grand and gentle, that every soft breeze is a strand of the planet's breath, and that even the stillness you feel now is part of a great continuous exhale. From the quiet deserts to the rolling oceans, from the snowy poles to the glowing tropics, the planet breathes, and we sleep within that breath. Let it calm you. Let it carry you. Let the wind flow gently through your dreams. The global winds, the breath of the planet. Now, let's rise higher, above the quiet clouds, above the layered winds near the surface. Let's drift gently upward into the upper reaches of the troposphere. Here, nearly 7 to 12 kilometers above the Earth, something powerful moves, thin, fast, silent. These are the jet streams, narrow rivers of wind, flowing swiftly through the highest parts of our weathered sky. They do not roar, they do not howl, they stream, fluid and graceful, guided by temperature contrasts between the warm equator and the cold poles. The jet streams form along these boundaries, where the temperature differences are strongest. The most well-known are the polar jet and the subtropical jet, each forming a ribbon of rapid air. Up here, the air can move faster than 160 kilometers per hour. Yet, if you were floating beside it, it would feel smooth, serene, a graceful rush above the world. These winds are like high-altitude highways, guiding storm systems below, nudging clouds from one region to the next, gently steering the weather patterns that shape our days. They don't cause the storms, but they are the invisible conductors, deciding where a low-pressure system drifts, where a front may stall, and how quickly weather changes from one moment to the next. Sometimes, the jet stream flows in a steady path. Other times, it meanders like a river, curling and dipping, creating gentle loops and soft curves. When it dips south, cooler air may follow. When it arches north, warmth can rise. These patterns, known as Rossby waves, move like slow pulses through the atmosphere, unfolding, shifting, evolving with time. To those who fly, the jet stream is both guide and gatekeeper. Airplanes flying with it can move swiftly, their journey shortened by the tailwind's push. But flying against it means resistance, delay, a longer glide across the heavens. Pilots often adjust their altitude to ride these winds, using the jet stream like a celestial conveyor belt. And yet, for all their speed, these streams are gentle in their silence. They carry no dust, they touch no trees, they pass unseen, sculpting the weather from above with a quiet grace. Meteorologists study these currents closely. Satellites and weather balloons trace their paths. Computer models listen for their shifts. Because even the softest bend in the jet stream can mean a change in the story down below. A storm redirected, a heat wave prolonged, a rainfall delayed, and sometimes, when the jet stream slows, or weakens, or lingers in place, weather patterns stall, a dry spell becomes a drought, a wet period becomes a flood. The rhythm of the jet stream shapes the tempo of the world below. But tonight, we won't worry about that. There's no rush, no urgency, only a quiet current far above, flowing steadily through the stars. So close your eyes and imagine it. A silvery ribbon of wind, twisting softly across the night sky. Not seen, but felt. Not heard, but known. An ancient part of our atmosphere's song. It moves above mountains, over oceans, across cities asleep in their blankets of dark. And even now, it is there, whispering through the sky, carrying the cold, cradling the warm, connecting one part of the earth to another. Jet streams, the high-altitude rivers of the sky, moving swiftly but never in haste. High above the valleys, where snow lingers on silent peaks and the world feels hushed beneath a moonlit sky, the air begins to settle. As the sun fades behind the jagged ridgelines, a change begins, not loud or sudden, but quiet and steady. Cold air, denser and heavier than the warmth it replaces, begins to gather. It pools in hollows and clings to mountain slopes, and then it flows. This is the katabatic wind, a gravity-driven breath of cold descending from high places. Not always forceful, but always purposeful, drawn downward by the weight of its own stillness. Imagine standing near a glacier's edge on a calm night. No trees rustling, no birds calling, just a faint sensation, cool air brushing past your ankles, as though the mountain itself were exhaling in its sleep. Katabatic winds are born in the cradle of the highlands, where the air is chilled by radiant cooling. The ground loses its warmth to the open sky, and the air above it becomes heavier, slipping downward like a slow-motion waterfall, made not of water, but of atmosphere. In some places, the descent is subtle, like a sigh rolling down a hillside. In others, particularly near ice caps or broad plateaus, the wind picks up speed. In Antarctica and Greenland, these katabatic winds can gather force as they fall, becoming icy rivers of motion that rush across barren snowfields, sculpting the frost and stirring the frozen silence. But most of the time, they are gentler, unseen, unspoken. They move across alpine meadows, through forested slopes, between rocks and snowdrifts, cooling the land as they pass. Along coastal regions like southern France or the dry valleys of Antarctica, these winds even have names. The Mistral, the Bora, whispers of mountain breath that descend toward the sea, shaping local weather with a soft persistence. When they pass through inhabited valleys, katabatic winds can chill the night and leave dew on rooftops. They can push fog toward the lowlands, or keep warm air at bay until morning returns. They are part of the mountain's rhythm, cooling, descending, renewing. And though they may not howl like storms or gust like gales, their power lies in their constancy. They are always responding, always balancing, always moving toward stillness. You can think of them as a kind of natural gravity for air, a reminder that even the sky responds to weight and form, that air, like water, will find its path downward, following the slope of the land with patient grace. If you lie still and listen on a quiet night in the highlands, you may hear them, or, rather, feel them. A slight pressure on your cheek, a subtle shift in the trees, a calm, cold hush. There is something deeply ancient about these winds. They have flowed for millennia, before maps, before names, and they will continue long after we sleep. Tonight, as you rest, perhaps you can picture them, descending slowly through snowy passes, flowing like breath down the spine of a sleeping mountain. Not to disturb, but to soothe. Let the thought of that quiet descent bring you calm. Let it cool your thoughts. Let it carry you downward, into rest, into quiet, into the valley of sleep. Katabatic winds, the hush of heavy air on the move. Now, let's shift our gaze from the cool descent of night to the soft awakening of day. Imagine a quiet mountain valley, bathed in the early gold of morning light. The shadows begin to retreat. The stones slowly warm. The meadow grasses start to stir, not from any sound, but from something nearly invisible. A breeze begins to rise, not from the sky above, but from the valley below. Up the slopes it travels, featherlight and curious. This is the anabatic wind. Born of sunlight and shaped by the land, anabatic breezes are gentle currents of warm air that climb upward during the day, especially in the calm of summer. They are the mountain's reply to morning's warmth. While katabatic winds drift downward at night, anabatic winds are their sunlit siblings, moving upward, softly scaling the terrain, carrying with them the scent of pine, the hum of insects, and the warmth of the earth itself. As the sun's rays touch the lower slopes, the ground begins to heat. The air just above it responds. Warm air is lighter, and it wants to rise. And so it does, gliding slowly up the contours of hillsides, ridgelines, and forested paths, a thermal lift, a steady climb, a breath rising towards the peaks. For gliders and soaring birds, this is a gift. You'll often see hawks and eagles turning wide, lazy circles in these rising currents, riding the air as it ascends, barely needing to flap a wing. Paragliders follow too, silent figures drifting upward with the thermals, dancing with the mountain's gentle exhale. Anabatic winds don't rush. They don't roar. They meander. They explore. They warm the upper slopes, stirring the still air and feeding the clouds that sometimes gather near the ridgelines by late afternoon. In the Alps, in the Rockies, in the soft hills of Japan, or the open ranges of New Zealand, wherever sunlit slopes welcome morning, these winds quietly arrive. They're part of a pattern, a soft daily pulse between night and day. At night, cold air slides downward. In the day, warmth climbs upward, a mountain breathing in and out, a rhythm older than language. For alpine meadows, anabatic winds are more than just motion. They carry pollens, stir the flowers, lift the bees from one bloom to another. They dry the morning dew and warm the moss-covered stones. They animate the highlands, bringing texture to stillness and life to silence. If you've ever stood on a slope just after noon and felt a breeze on your back as you looked uphill, that was likely an anabatic wind, softly brushing its way up the terrain. Even the clouds respond. On certain days, you might see small cumulus clouds begin to form just above the peaks, fluffy and relaxed, gathered there by the air rising from below. And then, as the sun begins its descent, these winds too begin to slow. They fade with the light. The climb ends, the warmth releases, but while they last, they are part of the land's gentle conversation with the sky, a quiet exchange of warmth, of motion, of life. So, as you settle in tonight, imagine those warm breezes still climbing in some sunlit place, touching mountaintops and treetops, rustling wildflowers, lifting wings into slow spirals. Let their upward motion cradle your thoughts. Let them carry you to a peaceful altitude in your mind, light, safe, and slow. Anabatic winds, the soft ascent of the sun's breath, rising gently and now fading into calm. Let us now travel to the edge of the land, where warm sand meets gentle waves, where the horizon stretches flat and wide, and the scent of salt floats in the air. Here, along the coastline, the day begins with stillness. The sun rises over the ocean, casting silver light across the water. But the real motion, the real breath, starts a little later, as the land warms. As morning unfolds, the sun heats the beach, the dunes, the sidewalks of sleepy coastal towns. Stone and soil absorb warmth faster than water, and so the air above the land begins to rise, lightened by heat, lifting gently upward. And in response, cooler air from over the ocean glides in to take its place. This is the sea breeze, a daily visitor, predictable, yet always welcome. It begins quietly, just a whisper on the shoreline. You may feel it as a sudden coolness on your cheek, a shift in the pattern of the palm trees, a hint of movement in the curtains of a seaside cottage. By midday, it grows stronger, though never harsh. It flows across sandy shores, past tide pools and driftwood, across quiet piers and picnic blankets. It curls around lighthouses and glides through beach grass, gathering the ocean's coolness and carrying it inland like a soothing balm. Fishermen know it well. So do surfers, sailors, and seabirds. It's part of the rhythm of coastal life, a gentle turning of the tide in the air itself. And though we call it a breeze, its role is more profound than it seems. Sea breezes moderate the temperature, keeping coastal towns from becoming too hot on summer days. They bring relief to sun-warmed skin. They stir the lower atmosphere, easing haze and helping clouds form above the shoreline. Soft, cottony clouds that often decorate the blue skies of early afternoon. You can often see its boundary too, marked by a subtle front, where warm air meets cool, and the wind picks up just a little, never rudely, but with purpose. A nudge, not a shove. For meteorologists, sea breezes are signs of balance, a daily gesture of the planet, sharing warmth and coolness between sea and land. They may even trigger small rain showers inland later in the day, as rising air continues its upward journey, forming puffs of cloud that grow, peak, and dissolve before evening. But for those simply living near the coast, the sea breeze is something more personal, a companion, a messenger of the ocean's endless patience. It arrives just when it's needed most, when the sun is highest and the air begins to feel heavy. And it reminds us that even on the warmest days, there is relief, there is movement, there is breath. So imagine it now, cool air drifting off the water, carrying the scent of salt and seaweed, passing over dunes and shells and footprints in the sand, slipping through open windows, cooling rooftops and porches, softening the heat of the afternoon. Let that breeze find you now, wherever you are. Let it brush your thoughts with calm. Let it wrap around you, not as wind, but as presence. Quiet, reliable, kind. The sea breeze doesn't ask for attention. It simply arrives, does its gentle work, and settles into the rhythm of the day. Soft, salty, and comforting. The ocean's breath coming ashore. The daily wind of coastal cools. Now the sun has set. The sky, once painted in gold, deepens into soft navy and violet. The final warmth retreats from the rooftops, and the sea, ever patient, holds onto its heat a little longer. Along the coastline, something delicate begins to shift. The sand now cool to the touch. The air a little denser. The warmth that once rose from the land during the day has faded, and in its place, a new, gentle motion begins. This is the land. Breeze, the quiet exhale of the earth, flowing not inward, but outward, from the shore towards the sea. Where the daytime saw warm land pulling in cooler ocean air, nighttime reverses the rhythm. Now, the land cools faster than the water, and the air above it settles, becoming heavier, denser, and still. It begins to move, softly sliding toward the sea, a slow, invisible tide of air, brushing over dunes and gardens, whispering through sleepy streets and quiet marinas. It is not strong, it does not gust, it does not shout, it glides, as if it remembers the shape of the day and is now gently tucking it away. This nocturnal breeze carries with it the scent of soil, perhaps warmed stone, perhaps a trace of lavender or pine, depending on where you are in the world. It drifts across coastal paths and follows the moonlit curve of the shore, eventually reaching the calmer, darker waters just offshore. There, it meets the lingering warmth of the sea. And though the temperature difference is small, it's enough to drive this subtle circulation, a nightly rhythm, a planetary exhale. If you could float above it, you might see a soft boundary between the land-cooled air and the sea-warmed surface, a place where the wind shifts, where air drifts out to sea, sometimes forming a thin line of mist that hugs the water in silence. Sailors once felt it at their backs while steering into moonlight. Fishermen sensed it on their faces before dawn. Even now, it's there, though unnoticed by most. A whisper leaving the land, taking with it the softness of the soil and the calm of the night. Sometimes, these breezes can trigger small cloud formation offshore, or help clear the sky near the coast, allowing stars to shine a little more clearly in the hours before midnight. And sometimes, they bring with them a deep sense of peace, as if the earth itself were breathing out, letting go of the day. If you listen carefully near a beach at night, not to the waves, but to the air, you might feel it, not with your ears, but with your skin, a cooling, a calming, a softness in motion. It slips past lantern-lit porches, past dune grasses curled for the night, past beach towels left out to dry. And it does not rush, it wanders. In a few hours, it will fade. The sea and land will slowly balance their warmth again, and by dawn, the breeze will sleep, until tomorrow night, when it will rise again. But for now, let it carry you, out to sea, out to stillness. Let it take the weight of the day, and leave you with only quiet. This is the land breeze, a hush in motion, the night's own lullaby flowing gently toward the sea. Let's drift now to the lee side of tall mountains, to the quiet plains east of the Rockies, where the sky stretches wide, and the earth in winter often lies wrapped in snow. Here, something unusual happens, something quiet but powerful. A wind begins to stir, not cold but warm, not wet but dry. And it moves down the mountain slopes as if it carries a secret. This is the Chinook, a wind unlike most, a snow eater, some call it, a soft descending breath that melts the silence of winter. Chinook winds form when moist air travels up and over a tall mountain range. As the air climbs, it cools, condenses, and often releases its moisture as rain or snow on the windward side. But once it crosses the crest and begins to descend, a transformation takes place. Now dry, the air begins to compress under increasing pressure as it sinks. And as it compresses, it warms, not from sunlight, not from the ground, but from the very act of descending. This is adiabatic warming, a gentle physics of motion and pressure, a warming without heat, like a sigh becoming soft breath. The result is a wind that flows down the mountains warm and dry, arriving in the valleys below like a sudden whisper of spring. You might feel it brush against your window, carrying the scent of thawing earth and the faint sound of melting snow. In just a few hours, it can change the world outside. Snowdrifts shrink, icicles drip, frost lifts from rooftops and fences. The landscape exhales. Chinook winds are most famous east of the Rocky Mountains, especially in places like Alberta and Montana, but they can happen anywhere. Tall ranges divide the sky, in the Alps, the Andes, even parts of New Zealand. Wherever they form, they carry a gentle contradiction. Warmth in winter, dryness in snow, stillness in change. To those who live beneath their path, Chinooks are a quiet marvel. They arrive suddenly, often announced only by a shift in the wind. thermometers rise, windows fog with warmth, and snow that took days to fall vanishes in hours. But for all their influence, Chinooks remain soft. They do not crash through, they do not shout, they glide, like a blanket being pulled back from the land. Some say you can feel them before they arrive, in the pressure behind your eyes, in the stillness that precedes the breeze, or in the way the sky seems to open just a little more. And when they pass, the world feels different. Not summer, but not quite winter either. A pause, a promise, a hint of the seasons changing hands. Even animals seem to notice. Birds stir, streams begin to flow again. The quiet crunch of footsteps on snow becomes the soft drip of water along rooftops. As you rest tonight, imagine that warmth moving down the mountain, like a soft hand smoothing the wrinkles of a cold, snow-covered valley. No rush, no blaze, just motion, just presence. Let it melt the tension in your shoulders. Let it warm the spaces in your thoughts. Let it remind you that even in the heart of winter, the air carries memory, and warmth can return on the wings of wind. This is the Chinook, the snow eater, the gentle messenger of change, descending softly and carrying spring just a little closer. Now, let us wander farther east to the mountain villages of Europe, where stone chimneys puff gently in winter, and rooftops gather snow like folded blankets. Nestled among the dramatic peaks of the Alps, the air is often crisp, still, hushed beneath layers of cloud. But sometimes a change arrives, quiet, warm, unexpected. A breeze flows down from the mountains, melting frost from garden gates and turning the breath of winter into something almost spring-like. This is the Fohn, a wind born of ascent and descent, of pressure and transformation. A cousin to the Chinook, but with a character all its own. The story of the Fohn begins on the windward side of tall ranges, where moist air is lifted high, cooling as it rises, releasing its burden in the form of rain or snow. By the time that air crests the alpine spine and begins its descent, it has become dry, stripped of its moisture, and now ready for something new. As it flows downward into the sheltered valleys below, the air begins to compress. And as it compresses, it warms, not with the blaze of the sun, but with the quiet mechanics of motion. This warming is soft, gradual, and yet powerful. It can raise temperatures by several degrees in mere minutes. Frost melts, clouds vanish, windows open, and the people of the valleys feel the sky shift. The Föhn is known throughout the Alpine regions, in Switzerland, in Austria, in Germany, and northern Italy. It arrives like a gentle contradiction, warmth flowing from snow-covered peaks, dry air from damp mountain passes, a touch of spring amid winter's hold. And while it may sound like a storm, the Föhn is not wild. It does not roar or rush, but glides with purpose, carrying mildness in its invisible arms. You might see it before you feel it, as a thin line of clouds dissolving across the ridgeline, or a sudden lightness in the sky, as if the air itself had been polished. In the towns below, the change is tangible. Chilled mornings bloom into pleasant afternoons. Snow begins to recede from balconies and cobblestones. Children shed coats, and the smell of earth returns, soft, early, unexpected. Some say you can feel the Föhn in your bones, a lift in the spirit, a quiet relief. For others, it brings a softness of thought, a reminder that not all change is loud, and though science explains it with pressure, gradients and lapse rates, there is something deeply human in how we notice it. The way it nudges the curtains or sends dry leaves skittering gently across a courtyard. At times, the foehn is misunderstood, mistaken for chaos, when, in truth, it is balance. A restoration of calm, a recalibration of air. It whispers across vineyards and farmland, through alpine passes and riverbeds, reminding the land that winter too has its pauses, that even cold seasons contain warmth, hidden, waiting. As you rest tonight, imagine that wind passing through a quiet village, loosening icicles from eaves, stirring wood smoke in lazy spirals, carrying the breath of the mountains down into the valley's embrace. Let it ease your thoughts. Let it soften your breath. Let it paint your dreams with mildness. Foehn, a mountain's warm exhale, a soft correction in the weather's song, a reminder that change can come gently. Let us now drift toward the tropics, where the ocean stretches vast and unbroken, and the skies are wide and open, brushed with slow-moving clouds and the soft glow of a low sun. Here, in the gentle latitudes near the equator, a quiet wind moves with purpose. Not hurried, not forceful, but steady, consistent, calm. These are the trade winds, ancient in rhythm, familiar in tone, a whisper that has shaped history, weather, and wonder for centuries. Trade winds flow from the subtropical highs toward the equator, from the northeast in the northern hemisphere, and from the southeast in the southern. They meet near the middle of the world in a zone of heat and rising air, known as the Intertropical Convergence Zone. But before they arrive, they have already travelled a long, invisible journey. These winds are born of balance, a response to Earth's spin, to the way the sun warms different parts of the globe unequally, to the natural desire of the atmosphere to equalize, to move, to find calm in motion. And so the trade winds move, consistent, faithful. They carry with them not only air, but stories. For centuries, they guided sailing ships across oceans, wooden vessels carried gently westward by winds that never ceased. Explorers and merchants learned to trust their presence. Their name, trade winds, comes not from commerce alone, but from the old root trado, to blow regularly. They are the predictable wind, the wind that always returns. But the trade winds carry more than ships. They carry clouds, they carry rain, they carry birds, soaring low over endless blue, and they carry the very moisture that fuels the tropical ecosystems of the world. As they glide across warm ocean surfaces, they pick up humidity, gathering it like threads in a loom. And when this warm, moist air reaches land, or rises with the heat near the equator, it often condenses, forming clouds, shaping tropical showers, feeding the lush rainforests of equatorial regions. They also help define calm zones, regions where sailors once drifted for days in still air. The doldrums, the hoarse latitudes, places where the trade winds pause, where the rhythm shifts, and where the silence of the sea becomes its own kind of music. From the Canary Islands to the Caribbean, from the coasts of Brazil to the islands of the Pacific, the trade winds leave their touch. Warm days, gentle evenings, soft waves brushing distant shores. They rarely gust, they rarely scream. They move like a lullaby, continuous, reliable, comforting. If you could float just above the surface of the ocean, you would feel them as a warm caress across your cheeks. A guide, a companion, a constant voice, always saying, "This way." Even now, meteorologists watch them closely, for changes in their strength can shape entire climates. When they weaken, warm water gathers in the Pacific, leading to events like El Niño. When they strengthen, the reverse occurs. Their whisper echoes far beyond the tropics, influencing rainfall, drought, and storm patterns across the globe. And yet, despite their influence, they remain quiet. You won't hear them unless you're listening closely. And even then, it's less of a sound and more of a feeling, a gentle pressure, a warmth, a sense of something always in motion. So tonight, as you lie still, imagine those trade winds moving steadily across moonlit waters, touching sails, brushing waves, carrying clouds across a sleeping sea. They've been flowing for thousands of years, and tonight they're still flowing. Let their rhythm soothe you. Let their whisper guide you. The trade winds, soft as breath, sure as time. Let us drift now to the heart of the tropics, to a place that seems to hover between sky and sea, between movement and stillness, between breath and pause. Here, just above the equator, there exists a region unlike any other, a belt of quiet wrapped around the middle of the world. It is called the Intertropical Convergence Zone, but sailors know it by another name. They call it the doldrums. The very word hums with quiet. It suggests stillness, suspension, a moment stretched thin where time slows and the air forgets to move. In this place, the trade winds from the north and the south converge. They meet gently, face to face, and in doing so, they cancel each other. The result is a zone of little to no horizontal wind, a still canvas of air, brushed only by rising warmth. For mariners of the past, the doldrums were legendary, a place where ships might drift for days, motionless upon a glassy sea. Canvas sails limp, oars resting, the ocean holding its breath. But though the doldrums are windless, they are not empty. Above, the skies gather clouds in thick, towering formations, built by rising warm air and humid tropical heat. These are not stormy clouds in a frightening sense, but dreamy, ever-changing castles of vapor, clouds that pulse upward into the higher atmosphere, then dissolve gently, releasing warm rains in soft sheets. The air here rises more than it moves across. This vertical lifting creates a world of mists, of frequent showers, of sudden sun and sudden shade. The light flickers. The surface of the sea turns silver, then grey, then golden again, and in between, silence. Even today, modern sailors notice the mood change, as if the ocean is whispering secrets in a different language, as if the wind, so ever present elsewhere, has stepped out for a while and left the world to think. The doldrums move slightly throughout the year, following the sun as it shifts north and south with the seasons. They are never fixed, always wandering, always hovering between hemispheres like a daydream. Meteorologists understand this region as a vital part of global circulation. It's where much of the planet's vertical atmospheric motion begins, rising warm air that eventually spreads out, cooling and sinking in distant places, powering the Hadley cells that drive the trade winds we visited just before. But tonight, we don't need to think of cells or charts. We need only float and listen. Imagine yourself adrift in the doldrums. No waves, no rush, just the slow rise of mist, the gentle patter of warm rain, the feeling of air so soft it seems to hold you. Above, clouds drift like dreams. Below, the sea reflects them, two skies, one above and one below, meeting in the middle. Let this calm fill your thoughts. Let it smooth the edges of your day. Let it slow everything. In the doldrums, there is no pressure to go anywhere, no wind to chase, no urgency at all, just rest. This is the windless sea, a quiet in-breath of the planet, a region of pause, of peace. the doldrums, where the wind closes its eyes and dreams with the sea. Sometimes, before the rain begins, before the first drops fall or thunder murmurs in the distance, there is a breeze, a cool one, a sudden shift, a quiet signal that something is changing. This is the gust front, the wind before the storm, a messenger sent ahead, not with urgency, but with quiet certainty. Let's drift into this moment, that gentle breath of air that sweeps across fields and porches, rustling curtains, stirring leaves, lifting the tiniest specks of dust. It's a subtle thing, often mistaken for coincidence, but in truth, it's the very edge of the storm's arrival. High above, a thunderstorm is building. Its tall anvil-shaped top has stretched into the sky, its updrafts lifting moisture upward, gently at first, then with more determination. Inside, droplets form and swirl, and the atmosphere rearranges itself in delicate, towering balance. But even before the first rumble echoes, cool air within the storm begins to sink. Rain-cooled, denser, and a little heavier, and like all heavy air, it seeks the ground. It falls, not as rainfall just yet, but as a quiet surge of air spilling outward from the base of the cloud. When it reaches the surface, this cooler air fans out. It spreads ahead of the storm, gliding over the land like a soft, advancing tide. This is the gust front. It's not violent, not if the storm is gentle. It is rather the atmosphere breathing out, a long, cool exhale, flowing outward to greet the warmer world ahead. If you've ever sat outside on a summer day, watching dark clouds build in the distance, you may have felt it, that moment when the air turns cooler, when the birds grow quiet, when the trees sway with a sudden sense of knowing. The wind changes direction, it picks up slightly, and the scent of the air begins to shift. Petrichor, perhaps, the faint trace of moisture yet to fall, a tension made gentle. Sometimes you'll even see it, the leading edge of the gust front, pushing dust ahead, or drawing a curtain of mist over a nearby field. Other times, it arrives invisibly, a presence more than a picture, a feeling more than a sound. Gust fronts mark a boundary between warm and cool, between dry and damp, between what was and what's arriving. But they also serve another purpose. They can lift air as they pass, sometimes helping to form new clouds along their boundary. A second breath, a secondary dance of moisture and light. Meteorologists watch them carefully. They can signal the motion of storms, the arrival of rain, the onset of gentle thunder or calm showers. But in your world tonight, they are just another soothing rhythm. The pause before the rainfall, the cool hush before the sky speaks. Let your imagination stand in a quiet field beneath a wide sky, clouds deepening in colour overhead, shadows stretching long across the earth. And then a breath, cool, steady, flowing past your skin, telling you that change is near, but gently, always gently. There is no rush here, no fear, only the wind, coming ahead of something slow and beautiful, the gust front. A message sent on the air, delivered in quiet. The breath before the downpour, the sigh before the song. Let us wander now into the warmth of open spaces, where sunlight lies heavy on the land, and the earth beneath your feet feels warm, dry, and still. It is here, in quiet fields and vast desert flats, that something curious and gentle sometimes stirs. Not a storm, not a wind, but a miniature spiral, a sunlit swirl of dust, twisting upward in the daylight with a motion both playful and calm. This is the dust devil, not a danger, not a whirlwind to fear, but rather a fleeting breath of air, rising from the surface in a soft, curious dance. Dust devils form on hot, dry days, especially when the ground has been baked by hours of sunlight. The surface heats quickly, far more rapidly than the air above it. And just like steam rising from a cup, pockets of warm air begin to lift. As they rise, they sometimes begin to rotate, gently, loosely, often aided by a passing breeze or the subtle curve of the landscape. And when conditions are just right, a column begins to form. It might start as a shimmer in the air, a distortion in the light, a quiet flicker just above the surface. Then, with little warning, dust and dry grasses are lifted lightly from the ground, spiraling upward in a narrow column. A swirl of sun-warmed air made visible. These dust devils are small, ephemeral, often just a few meters tall, though some grow taller, stretching high into the golden sky like twisting threads of silk. They move slowly across the land, drifting without hurry, changing direction with ease, then fading just as easily as they appeared. Their shape is delicate, a core of rising air, surrounded by a soft spiral of dust or light debris. Nothing harsh, nothing wild, just the air, discovering movement. Some cultures consider dust devils to be spirits, gentle messengers, guardians of the land, or symbols of passing energy. And when you see one, it's hard not to feel that way. There's something alive about them, something aware, and yet they are completely natural, formed not by force, but by balance. They are part of the day's gentle thermal rhythm, where warm air rises and cool air settles, all under the quiet gaze of the sun. You might see them wandering across farm fields, meandering through canyon basins, or twirling in open desert valleys, silent companions to the heat, unfolding in the stillness of afternoon. Children watch them with wonder. Animals pause to observe. Even the trees seem to lean in, curious. And then, just as softly as they began, they vanish. The rising air loses its strength, the spiral wobbles, and the dust returns gently to the ground. What's left is only stillness and memory. As you rest tonight, imagine one forming far away in a quiet landscape beneath a glowing sky. See it rising slowly, spinning not with fury, but with grace. Let its motion calm your thoughts. Let its quiet rhythm lull your breath. Let the spiral lift your mind gently, effortlessly into stillness. Dust devils, tiny dancers in the light, born of warmth, shaped by calm and carried on the wind. They rise, they twirl, and they vanish, like thoughts, like dreams. Let's drift now to the open deserts, to landscapes stretched wide beneath endless sky, where the earth is dry, the air warm, and the horizon feels just a little farther away. In these sunlit places, the wind sometimes gathers more than whispers. It begins softly, a breeze brushing across the sand, lifting small grains, stirring the surface of the land with a gentle hand. But sometimes, as distant thunderstorms form and breathe deeply, they exhale a gust of cooler air that falls to the desert floor with quiet strength and begins to push outward. And that's when it happens. Dust begins to rise, first low, then higher, grains lifted by motion, drawn into a growing front. This is a haboob, a desert's soft stampede of air and dust. Not angry, not wild, just vast, and deeply atmospheric. The word haboob comes from Arabic, meaning blasting or blowing, but tonight we will not feel it as a blast. We will observe it gently, from a safe and dreamy distance. A wall of earth made air, a breath made visible. From far away, a haboob looks like a moving curtain, a soft brown wall stretching from the surface to the sky. It glides across the landscape, rolling with smooth intent, not rushed, not chaotic, but calm in its enormity. It might span kilometers in width. It might rise thousands of feet high, but to the eye, it moves with grace, a horizon shading from light to shadow. It arrives ahead of storms, brought forth by the downdrafts of distant clouds, as cool air sinks and slides across dry land. That sinking air lifts dust, and the dust paints the wind, and so the daylight dims. Colors soften, the world becomes golden, then amber, then deep ochre. The sun, filtered through the drifting curtain, becomes a soft sphere of copper. Shadows stretch long and blur into the glow. It is not night, but not quite day either. A twilight born of air and dust. Animals grow still. The landscape quiets. Even the birds lower their wings, nestling into shelter to wait out the passage. But we remain at a peaceful distance, watching, floating, appreciating the artistry of nature at work. There's a rhythm to it, as if the desert is breathing deeply, exhaling all at once. And though some haboobs can bring low visibility or shifting sand, we are not within it. We are alongside it, listening, drifting, letting its form lull us, not as something to fear, but as something to understand. Eventually, the motion slows, the wall thins, dust falls gently back to the ground, settling into dunes and creases and quiet places. The sunlight begins to return, softly washing across the landscape. And the wind moves on, lighter now, leaving only calm. In the stillness that follows, the earth feels hushed, like a room after music has ended, like a sigh after long breath. Let that stillness settle into you now. Let it clear your thoughts. Let it ground you. You are far from the wall of dust, watching from a place of peace, safe in the knowledge that even powerful things can be gentle when seen through softer eyes. Haboobs, walls of wind and dust, not storms to fear, but paintings in motion, brushstrokes of earth and sky, gliding across the land and into memory. Let us now journey far north and far south, to the very edges of our spinning world, where the poles rest beneath long seasons of quiet twilight, and the sky, even in its coldest moments, still moves with grace. Above these frozen realms, high in the stratosphere, spins something vast, something cold, and something remarkably steady. It is called the polar vortex, a slow, swirling crown of icy air, circling the planet in a silent dance of temperature and wind. It isn't a storm. It doesn't roar through cities or flash across radar screens. It's not something we feel in a single gust. Instead, it's more like a guardian, a broad band of frigid air spinning around the Arctic and Antarctic, like a ring of breathless cold. During winter, this vortex strengthens. The sun's warmth retreats from the poles, and the atmosphere above cools, layer by layer. In the upper stratosphere, tens of kilometers above the surface, a vast river of air begins to spin, clockwise in the south, counterclockwise in the north. It flows not in fits or flurries, but in a smooth, persistent circle, a barrier between the coldest air and the milder zones below. Inside the vortex, the air is quiet, still, and intensely cold. Outside, the winds move faster, separating one world from another. Most of the time, the polar vortex remains high above, content to hold its chill close to the pole. But sometimes, under just the right conditions, it stretches, wobbles, splits, or dips. And when it does, fragments of that cold air can drift southward, bringing a sudden chill to places far from the poles. When the vortex weakens, a window opens, and the icy breath of the north or south may wander. But even then, it does not rush. It moves slowly, gently altering the seasons, a reminder that the atmosphere is always in conversation with itself. Meteorologists observe the polar vortex carefully, not because it is loud, but because it is quietly powerful. Its position influences jet streams, shapes winter patterns, and guides the behavior of cold spells and warm breaks across entire hemispheres. And yet, it is so far above us that we can't see it. We only feel its influence in the crispness of a January breeze, in the hush of snow settling in unexpected places, in the stillness of frozen mornings. It's comforting to think that above all the weather we see and feel, there's a steady pattern moving in wide, patient circles, a cold crown spinning in silence. If you could rise high above the earth, you might see the polar vortex as a soft swirl of icy hues, pale blues and silver greys, undulating in slow motion around the pole, wrapped in starlight, untouched by sound. Tonight, as you lie still, imagine yourself drifting high above the Arctic or Antarctic, watching the world curve below you as the vortex spins, calm, vast, unchanging. Let that quiet power settle over you. Let it cool your thoughts. Let it circle you like a blanket of sky, the polar vortex, the icy crown of air, holding the seasons in its gentle spin. Now, let us follow a warmer breeze, one born not in snow or mist, but in sunlit sands and wide golden silence. In the heart of the Sahara, where the earth holds heat like a memory, and the sky shimmers with light, a wind begins to rise. It gathers softly at first, whispers across dunes, then stretches its breath toward the sea. This is the sirocco, a warm, dry wind born of desert air, traveling northward from North Africa across the Mediterranean, sometimes reaching into southern Europe, bringing with it the touch of distant lands. The sirocco is not a single gust, but a long, slow exhalation from the earth. It is part of the desert's rhythm, shaped by low-pressure systems forming above the sea, which draw hot air northward, as if inviting the warmth to travel. And so it does. The sirocco can cross great distances, moving from sand to surf, from olive groves to marble cities, from silence to song. It carries more than heat. It often lifts fine desert dust into the air, colouring the sky with a soft haze, a muted yellow or faint rose, filtering sunlight and softening the blue above. To those who live along its path, the sirocco is a familiar visitor. In Italy, in Greece, in Tunisia and Malta, its arrival is felt not only in temperature, but in mood. It brings a stillness, a dreamlike weight to the air. Windows are shuttered, curtains sway, and the world seems to slow. Just slightly, the air becomes dry, but not sharp, warm, but not rushed. And yet, the sirocco can shift. Sometimes it grows humid as it crosses the sea, picking up moisture and delivering it inland, carrying the warmth of the desert and the breath of the ocean at once. It can change the way the day feels, the way the sky looks, the way the wind sounds as it brushes through trees. Even the dust it carries holds stories, tiny grains from ancient dunes, lifted by heat, drawn across continents, settling on windowsills, coating mountain snow, joining the atmosphere's soft migration of memory. The sirocco is part of that quiet connection, reminding us that winds do not belong to one place. They travel, they carry, they link skies and lands with invisible threads. To meteorologists, the sirocco is a subtropical wind, influenced by pressure, temperature gradients, and synoptic patterns that stretch across hemispheres. But to those who pause and feel it, it's something more human, a wind that touches your skin with the warmth of a faraway sun, At night, it may linger still, a gentle current moving through the dark, as if the desert itself is sighing softly, reaching out across the water, carrying sand and silence and warmth. So, as you rest now, perhaps you can imagine it. A breeze born in the Sahara, moving slowly toward a coastal town, brushing rooftops, curling through narrow streets, passing by candlelight and closing shutters. It doesn't rush, it doesn't press, it drifts, connecting one place to another in a whisper. This is the sirocco, the hot wind from the desert. Not wild, but wide. Not fierce, but far-reaching. Let it carry you, softly, across oceans, into sleep. Now, let us drift to the sun-soaked valleys of southern France, where lavender fields sleep beneath vast skies, and cypress trees stand like watchful sentinels across the land. In this part of the world, there is a wind known by name, a wind that is fast, cold, and familiar. It comes from the north, rushing through the Rhône Valley, carving its path from mountains to sea. It is called the Mistral. To live in Provence or along the southern coast is to know the Mistral as part of the rhythm of life, a seasonal visitor, a painter of skies, a clearer of clouds. Born in the upper valleys, the Mistral begins high in the cold north, shaped by the pressure patterns between continental highs and Mediterranean lows. Air, drawn southward by these systems, follows the narrow corridors carved by the land, and as it moves through the Rhône Valley, it accelerates, funneled like water through a narrowing stream. And so, the Mistral gathers speed, crisp, clean, purposeful. It rushes through Avignon, stirs the shutters of small stone villages, and glides past olive groves and vineyards on its way to the sea. But though it is fast, it is not wild. Though it is strong, it carries no anger. The Mistral is a sculptor, shaping the land with clarity, brushing the sky clean, cooling the soil and air, refreshing everything in its path. Locals often say that after the Mistral, the sky turns Provençal blue, an endless, cloudless dome of light. The air becomes still in its crispness. The sunlight sharpens without heat. It is a wind that makes things visible, that lifts the haze and reveals the land in high relief. Stone walls, red rooftops, distant hills suddenly more vivid. Even the trees remember it. In the Mistral's domain, you'll often see them leaning, tilted slightly southward, shaped by years of quiet resistance, forever responding to its passing breath. And yet, for all its presence, the Mistral arrives quietly. There is no storm announcing its approach, no thunder, no sudden pressure, only a change in the air, a sharper note in the breeze, a coolness in the morning light. It may last a single day, or 3, or longer still, and when it does, people adjust. They close their windows at night. They hang their laundry in the morning, knowing it will dry in an hour. Some say the Mistral stirs the mind, sharpens the senses. Others find it unsettling, too crisp, too clear. But from a distance, from this sleepy space we share, the Mistral is simply movement, the earth's breath, rushing from mountain to coast, bringing stillness in its wake. So imagine it now. High above the Alps, a current of cold air begins its descent, threading through valleys, gathering speed, whispering through vineyards, sweeping over ancient rooftops, before spilling softly into the Mediterranean. Let it pass through your thoughts, not as noise, but as cleansing. Let it carry away the fog of the day. Let it leave your mind clear and cool. This is the Mistral, the fast wind of southern France, the sky opener, the horizon brusher, the breeze that reveals, It does not linger, it does not return on command, but when it comes, it leaves everything quieter, brighter, cleaner than before. Let us now journey to places where the rhythm of life is written in the wind, to coasts and plains, hills and deltas, where the sky tells stories not in sudden gusts or passing breezes, but in long, deep cycles, the slow, breathing pulse of the earth. This is the monsoon, not a storm, not a single gust, but a system, a shift in wind so profound. It carries the seasons on its back. The word monsoon comes from the Arabic mausim, meaning season, and that is what the monsoon truly is, a seasonal breath, a grand exhale, and then, months later, a deep inhale. In many parts of the world, especially in South and Southeast Asia, monsoon winds are life itself. They bring rains that nourish crops, refill rivers, awaken forests. They arrive not all at once, but in phases, softly at first, then steadily, then all-encompassing. To understand the monsoon, we must begin with the sun. As it warms the continents in summer, the land heats more quickly than the ocean. Warm air rises over the land, and cooler, moisture-laden air is drawn in from the sea. This onshore flow becomes the summer monsoon, and with it comes the rain, not in torrents, but in rhythms, daily cloudbursts, gentle drizzles, long midnight soaks, showers that feed rice fields and orchards, that fall on temples and tin rooftops, that pool in lotus ponds and echo in deep jungles. These rains are not feared, they are awaited, blessings from the sky arriving on the wind. The monsoon brings change to everything. The scent of the air deepens, birdsong changes, markets bustle beneath umbrellas, the world glistens, and life flows again. Months later, as autumn nears, the pattern reverses. The land, now cooler than the sea, begins to exhale. Winds reverse, blowing outward from the continent to the ocean. Dry air replaces moist, skies clear, and the rains drift away, until next season. This is the winter monsoon, cooler, quieter, a slow in-breath before the next return. Monsoon winds are not unique to Asia. They also shape West Africa, northern Australia, parts of the Americas. Wherever warm land meets a willing sea, the monsoon's breath can form, subtle and slow, but deeply powerful. To meteorologists, monsoons are systems of seasonal wind reversal, governed by thermal contrasts and planetary patterns. They track it with satellites, measure its strength, predict its arrival. But for those who live within it, the monsoon is less calculation and more feeling. The shift in air pressure, the first gathering clouds, the wind turning inland, the scent of moisture before the first drop falls. It is part of memory, part of culture, part of time itself, and though the rains may vary, arriving early or late, strong or light, the wind always returns. Tonight, as you drift into rest, imagine that wind beginning to turn, a great, slow rotation across oceans and land. Feel the warm breeze arriving from the sea, passing through tall grasses and into open windows. Let it brush your thoughts like rain on dry soil. This is the monsoon, a wind that does not rush, a rhythm older than calendars, a breath that brings life, and then lets it rest. Let us wander now to a quiet valley tucked between gentle hills and wooded slopes, where time moves slowly and the morning arrives like a soft breath. It is summer. The sun has not yet cleared the highest ridges, but already a subtle change begins to ripple through the air. The grasses, heavy with dew, begin to stir. The petals of wildflowers shift ever so slightly, and the pine needles, still laced with shadow, begin to whisper. A breeze is rising, not from the sky, but from the land itself, from the valley floor where the air is warming. Drawn upward by the gentle heat of the morning sun, the breeze begins its slow climb, up hillsides, through forest trails, toward the high country beyond. This is the valley breeze, a daytime counterpart to the nighttime mountain wind. Valley breezes form when the sun warms the slopes and valley floor unevenly. The ground heats the air just above it, making it lighter, encouraging it to rise. And so it does. Like a sleepy sigh lifting from the earth, the air begins to move upslope. Not in gusts, not in noise, but in soft, reliable patterns, an invisible tide moving upward through alpine pastures and over mossy stones. You can feel it most clearly in the morning hours. Stand near a mountain meadow, and it brushes past your skin like a gentle thought. It carries the scent of grass warmed by light, the faint aroma of pine sap, the sweetness of nearby blossoms opening to greet the day. It is the kind of breeze that stirs butterflies from their rest, that lifts dandelion seeds into slow drift, that animates the thin spiderwebs stretched between low branches. Birds ride these breezes too, hawks circling quietly overhead, their wings steady in the rising air, not flapping, not struggling, but simply being carried. And for all its simplicity, this wind is part of something larger. The valley breeze is one half of a diurnal wind cycle, a rhythm that trades places with its partner, the mountain breeze, each morning and evening. At night, the cooler mountain air slips down into the valley, settling low like a blanket. But with the sun's return, the pattern shifts again. Warmth rises. The breeze returns to the slopes. This quiet pattern has been repeating for thousands of years, a daily breath between land and sky, a conversation spoken in the softest wind. For those who live in these valleys, the breeze is familiar. It moves laundry on lines strung between trees. It nudges wind chimes into slow, melodic motion. It cools porches and cabins as the day begins. And when you sit quietly in the grass, it reminds you that everything is gently moving, even when it feels still. The breeze never rushes, never demands. It simply lifts and carries and calms. So tonight, as you rest, imagine yourself in a green mountain valley at dawn. The air is cool, but warming, the sun just rising beyond the trees. And the breeze, soft and fragrant, begins its upward journey once more. Let it pass through your thoughts. Let it lift the weight of the day. Let it remind you that even in the quietest places, there is movement, there is rhythm, there is breath. Valley breezes in summer, the earth gently exhaling as the sun begins to climb. Now let us drift, not into a forest, nor across a desert or quiet valley, but into something more modern, more structured, more human. Let us float gently into the city. Even here, among buildings and boulevards, glass towers and quiet rooftops, the wind still moves, still breathes, still finds its way. Though it may not rustle leaves or sweep across fields, urban wind is just as real, just as rhythmic, shaped not by mountains or oceans, but by streets, skylines, and steel. Every city, large or small, creates its own miniature atmosphere, a microclimate of warmth and shadow, of currents rising from pavement, and breezes winding between the walls. It begins with the sun. As it rises over neighborhoods and high-rises, its light is absorbed by the concrete and asphalt below. Unlike forests or grasslands, cities store heat, soaking it in through rooftops and windows, and releasing it slowly, like a sigh that lasts into the evening. This stored warmth warms the air, causing it to rise, a gentle, invisible lift from courtyards and sidewalks, from chimneys and air vents, from the wide, sunlit faces of buildings themselves. And as warm air rises, cooler air moves in to replace it. A subtle circulation forms. Between tall buildings, especially in dense downtowns, the wind can accelerate, squeezed through narrow corridors of glass and steel, like water through a narrowing stream. This is sometimes called the urban canyon effect, where breezes, once calm, become faster as they pass between towers, curling and swirling in patterns that seem almost alive. Pedestrians may feel sudden gusts at street corners, while rooftop gardens enjoy a lighter drift, higher up where the air flows more freely. On summer afternoons, you might see the shimmer of heat rising from sidewalks, a thermal haze, a wavering curtain above the concrete. And sometimes, these urban thermals are strong enough to lift birds upward, to carry leaves high into the sky, to stir lightweight clouds into formation just above the skyline. In this way, the city makes its own weather. Rain may fall more readily near the core. Air may move differently over parks than over parking lots. Even temperature can shift block by block, depending on color, material, exposure. This is the city's breath, a pattern not designed, but gently built over time. Meteorologists study it carefully. Urban wind patterns influence pollution, comfort, even the efficiency of green roofs and solar panels. But for those who simply walk the streets, it is often felt, not noticed. A breeze between buildings, a sudden gust turning a page, a swirl of leaves in a courtyard that seems to spin without cause. And yet, there is cause, there is rhythm, even here. So tonight, let yourself imagine drifting above a sleeping city. The windows glow faintly, the streets are quiet, the air moves gently between the buildings, around corners, across terraces, through alleys and over domes. Let that wind carry you, not high, but through, as if you are a breeze yourself, moving softly between silent structures. The city breathes too, not in words or footsteps, but in rising warmth and quiet motion. Urban winds, the breath of the built world, subtle, patient, always moving, even in sleep. Let us take a moment to speak softly of something powerful, of something often feared, yet also deeply fascinating. Tonight, we will explore the spiral, the upward twist of air, the quiet mathematics of rotation, not with urgency, but with wonder. These are the winds that form vortices, tornadic winds. But we will not speak of damage or danger. We will not dwell on storm sirens or rushing sound. Instead, we will step back and observe the gentle order within the storm, because even the most powerful winds begin in silence. Tornadic rotation often forms deep within a thunderstorm, a towering cloud known as a supercell, which contains a special kind of structure, a mesocyclone. This mesocyclone is a rotating column of air within the storm, stretching upward like a spinning pillar, hidden inside the cloud. It's formed when winds at different altitudes blow in slightly different directions. A soft wind near the ground, a stronger breeze above, each moving in its own path. This difference in motion causes the air to rotate, like a slow roll along the horizon. As the thunderstorm rises, it tilts that roll upright, and now the air spins vertically. Not all storms with rotation create tornadoes. In fact, most do not, but some do, and when the conditions are just right, a smaller, tighter vortex forms near the base of the storm, reaching down toward the ground like a finger, tracing a path across the earth. This is the tornado, but let us picture it not in panic, but in balance. Imagine the air as a fluid shaped by invisible hands, twisting, lifting, aligning, not random, not wild, but purposeful. Every tornado, no matter how brief, is a moment of concentrated rotation, drawn from broader winds, guided by pressure and contained within the laws of nature. It is part of the storm's way of releasing energy, a brief, organized dance within chaos, a spiral drawn delicately from the sky. And there is beauty here, if seen from a place of stillness. On radar, you might see a hook echo, a soft curve of return signals, tracing the shape of the spiral within the cloud. On paper, you might follow the temperature gradients, the dew point lines, the wind barbs at the surface and aloft. Everything connected, everything flowing. Even the tornado's path is not wild. It moves with the storm, shaped by larger currents, its life tied closely to the structure that birthed it. And just as quietly as it forms, it ends. The rotation weakens, the spiral stretches, the balance fades. What's left is stillness. The sky begins to close again, and the wind returns to its wider rhythm. Tonight, we don't need to focus on the chaos, only the geometry, the poetry of spin, the quiet mechanics of rising, swirling air. So, let yourself imagine a vortex, not as destruction, but as a line of invisible thread, gently pulled from the fabric of the atmosphere, spinning for a moment in perfect alignment, then released. Let it twirl through your thoughts like a breeze inside a dream. Let it remind you that even the strongest forces can be described in gentle terms. Tornadic winds, power with purpose, rotation with rhythm, a spiral drawn softly from the breath of the storm. Let us drift now, far from land, past the last signs of shore, beyond harbours, beyond lighthouses, into the open ocean, where the sky stretches endlessly above the waves. Here, the wind speaks with its own language, not in hurried gusts, but in long, rolling phrases. And when a system grows stronger, when pressure deepens and the sea responds, a new voice begins to rise. This is the voice of the gale. A gale is not a storm. In the dramatic sense, it is not a hurricane, not a tempest. It is a stronger wind, yes, forceful, persistent, but not chaotic. It is organized, rhythmic, a presence that arrives slowly and grows in steady measure. Meteorologists define a gale as a sustained wind, typically between 34 and 47 knots, or about 63 to 87 kilometers per hour. But numbers cannot capture its feeling. To the sailor or the seabird or the quiet observer of weather, a gale is not a statistic. It is an experience. It begins subtly. The wind freshens. Waves grow taller, not abruptly, but with grace, like water standing a little prouder beneath the sky. You can hear the change too, not as a roar, but as a deepening hum across the deck, a low chorus in the rigging. Masts lean slightly, lines tighten, and the surface of the sea turns dark and smooth in places, speckled with foam that curls and drifts like sea-stitched lace. There's beauty in the structure of a gale. Its formation is tied to pressure, to the movement of air from areas of high to low, to the Earth's rotation, to temperature boundaries that shape and steer these mighty flows. The winds may wrap around a low-pressure center, moving in wide spirals across vast distances, their reach stretching across entire oceans. And though they may span thousands of kilometers, they move with a certain poise, never frantic, never sudden. Gale force winds are part of the planet's natural balancing act. They redistribute heat, transport moisture, stir the surface of the sea, and help shape weather far inland. Even if you are far from the coast, their influence may reach you in shifting skies, in cooler breezes, in the pattern of rainfall days later. At sea, gales are respected, not feared, but understood. They invite preparation, not panic. A watchful eye on the barometer, a reef in the sail, a quiet hand at the wheel. And when they pass, they often leave a deep calm behind. The wind eases, the waves smooth, the air feels rinsed as though the sky itself has taken a long breath. So tonight, let us imagine standing on the deck of a quiet vessel, somewhere far offshore. The sails trimmed, the ocean wide, the wind brushing your cheek, not sharply but firmly, a voice rising from the sea. You hear it in the lines, you feel it in the boards, a presence all around, guiding, shifting, singing. Let it rock you now. Let it move gently through your thoughts like swells beneath a moonlit hull. Let it carry you toward rest, as surely as it carries clouds across the open water. This is the gale, a wind of structure, of motion, of meaning. Not a storm, but a song written in air and water, wide, steady, and endlessly unfolding. Wind is invisible, but not unknowable. Though we cannot see it, we feel its presence, on our cheeks, in the way it moves clouds, in the dance of leaves, in the hush of grasses. And long before satellites and sensors, before radar and remote readings, people learned to listen to the wind with their eyes. They watched how it moved the sea, how it bent the sails, how it whispered across fields or shook the shutters of their homes. From this quiet observation came a scale, a way to describe the wind not with numbers alone, but with experience. This is the Beaufort scale, a simple, elegant ladder of motion, built not from equations, but from moments. It was created in the early 19th century by Sir Francis Beaufort, a naval officer who understood that sailors needed a common language for something they could all feel, but not all measure. He began with ships, describing how sails responded at different wind strengths. Later, the scale was adapted for land and sea alike, so that anyone could stand beneath the sky, watch the world around them, and quietly say, "This is a 3 or a 5, or maybe a 7. So let's drift now, not upward or downward, but gently forward, through the scale itself. At Beaufort 0, the air is still. The sea is like glass. Smoke rises straight. Nothing stirs. A moment of perfect calm. At 1, a light air begins. You might see smoke drift slightly. A feather floats. The sea has tiny ripples. 2 brings a gentle breeze. Leaves rustle. Flags begin to unfurl. On water, you see small wavelets with glassy crests. At 3, the breeze becomes more noticeable. Leaves and twigs move, sails fill. On open sea, longer waves begin to appear. At 4, a moderate breeze. Branches sway, dust is lifted. The sea shows frequent whitecaps. Then, 5, a fresh breeze. Small trees bend. Wavelets break more often. The wind begins to hum. 6 is a strong breeze. Large branches move. Umbrellas resist. The sea forms larger waves with streaks of foam. At 7, a near gale. Whole trees sway. Walking into the wind takes effort. The sea roars softly with long, breaking waves. 8 becomes a full gale. Twigs snap. The air feels weighted. Foam flies over the sea surface. 9 is a strong gale. Branches break. The sea is wild. Spray reduces visibility. 10, a storm. Uprooted trees, rolling waves, a deep, sustained howl in the air. 11, a violent storm. Airborne debris, large waves with overhanging crests. The sea becomes white with foam. And 12, the highest, hurricane force. Very rare. The sea disappears into spray. Land, sea, and sky blur into motion. But tonight, we're not counting. we're simply noticing, letting each level drift through us like verses in a poem. Not as warnings, but as weather remembered, because the Beaufort scale is not just about force, it is about effect. What the wind does to the world around it, how it paints the sea, how it draws motion from stillness. So as you lie back now, perhaps you can imagine each stage as a page turning slowly in a book of wind. From still air to whispered breeze, to steady motion, to soaring power, all part of the same story. Wind, seen not with eyes, but with care. This is the Beaufort scale, a way to measure the invisible, with poetry, with presence, with a quiet trust of those who watched the world and wrote down what they saw. Let us lift now into the quieter heights of the sky, not all the way to space, but to the upper levels of the atmosphere, where clouds move like slow thoughts, and the air, though thin, is still alive with motion. Here, something subtle occurs, something not always seen, but always present. A gentle ripple, a rising and falling, a wave born not of water, but of air. These are gravity waves, and despite their name, they have nothing to do with black holes or distant galaxies. They are not the cosmic ripples of space-time you may have heard about. No, these are atmospheric gravity waves, born in the sky, moving through clouds, shaped by mountains, storms, and the restless motion of the Earth's lower breath. They are created when a parcel of air is disturbed, perhaps lifted by a mountain ridge, or nudged upward by a passing front. And when that air rises, gravity gently pulls it back down. But as it falls, it overshoots, rises again, and falls again. This begins a quiet oscillation, up and down, like a pendulum suspended in air. The result is a wave, not of sound, not of light, but of motion. And if conditions are right, we can see these waves, painted across the sky. They appear as evenly spaced bands of clouds, soft, rounded, like ripples drawn across silk. They stretch across the atmosphere in graceful lines, sometimes running for hundreds of kilometers, yet barely shifting for hours. You may have seen them without realizing. High above, just before dusk, gentle undulations of cloud, quietly marching in rhythm across the horizon. They don't flash, they don't roar, they simply drift. These clouds are often altostratus or altocumulus, mid-level clouds sensitive to these vertical shifts. The waves form where moisture condenses at the crests and disappears in the troughs. Each band a visible reminder that the sky is always in motion, even when it feels still. Sometimes, gravity waves form downstream of mountains, in what are called lee waves. There, glider pilots seek them out, riding the lift to great altitudes, soaring quietly through invisible ripples. Other times, gravity waves ripple the edges of large thunderstorms, spreading outward like rings in a pond, only visible by the delicate cap of clouds they sculpt. Meteorologists study them closely. Though quiet, gravity waves can influence turbulence in aviation, the formation of cirrus clouds, even the structure of jet streams. But tonight, we won't analyze. We'll simply observe, drifting with the wave. Let yourself imagine floating high above the earth, where the air is thin and cool. Beneath you, the clouds form in gentle arcs, rising and falling like breath. There is no sound here, only rhythm. The entire sky moves like a slow song, notes held long, drifting across the upper air, echoing in silence. And though gravity anchors us to the ground, in the sky it creates beauty, pulling softly on air, giving it the grace to rise and fall and rise again. Let these waves carry your thoughts now. Let them soothe the mind, like a lullaby written in clouds. This is not a storm, not a gust, but a ripple, a whisper. Gravity waves in the sky, a quiet reminder that even the air above us has its own gentle rhythm. Let us drift now into the wide, slow spiral of a storm, not to be caught in it, but to observe it gently from far above, where everything turns in quiet rhythm. This is the world of the hurricane, a vast, swirling system, perfect in symmetry, endlessly rotating above warm ocean waters. And within that spiral is wind, constant, balanced, always in motion. Tonight, we'll softly explore those winds, not their force, not their damage, but their structure, their flow, the quiet beauty in their order. A hurricane is born when ocean waters are warm and the air above them moist and unstable. But the true heart of the storm begins with rotation, a small spin, a subtle turning, a symmetry that grows. As the system strengthens, the winds organize. They do not move in a straight line. They curve, they spiral, drawn inward toward a center that becomes more defined with time. Around this center lies the eye, a place of calm where the skies may clear, where the winds go still. But surrounding it is the eye wall, a ring of powerful wind, circling like a river around an island of silence. These winds do not move outward. They turn around in wide bands that draw closer and tighter to the center. The air flows counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, clockwise in the southern, but always with the same elegant pattern, a dance of air wrapped around pressure. As air moves toward the low-pressure core, it spirals inward and upward, rising through towering clouds, cooling, condensing, and releasing heat. This heat feeds the storm, not explosively, but steadily, like a breath deepening. The spiral bands stretch far, sometimes hundreds of kilometers, each with its own pulses of rain, its own subtle wind shifts, all connected to the broader circulation. There is structure here, not chaos. Even at gale force, even when the storm is strong, the winds are balanced. Air flows in, rises, spreads outward aloft, and gently sinks in the eye. A complete loop. Meteorologists watch this pattern closely. Not just the speed, but the shape. The symmetry tells the story, how centered the eye is, how organized the bands have become. A mature hurricane is like a slowly turning sculpture, each layer feeding the one beneath it. And yet, despite all its strength, the winds are not random. They obey the same rules that shape breezes in valleys, thermals in cities, and waves in the sky. The hurricane simply magnifies the pattern, larger, wider, deeper in its motion. From space, you would see it clearly, a spiral etched in white, curving toward a calm blue center. Clouds rotating in a vast circle, held together by nothing more than the balance of pressure and wind. Tonight, imagine drifting alongside it, not in its path, but around its edge. Let yourself float above the outer bands, watching the winds move in wide, circular lines. Not rushing, not chaotic, just steady. Feel the curve of the air, the rhythm of the rotation, the breath of the sea, risen into the sky. These are the winds in a hurricane spiral, not just motion, but balance. A storm, shaped by symmetry, air turning upon itself, the world in motion, drawn into quiet order. Let us settle now into the quiet heart of calm, not into swirling storms or chasing gusts, but into stillness, open skies, a world gently paused. This is the realm of the anticyclone, a region of high pressure, where the air presses down instead of lifting, and the wind, if present at all, moves softly, like a sigh after long motion. Unlike their low-pressure cousins, anticyclones do not stir or spin with urgency. They do not gather storms. They do not call down rain. Instead, they offer something much simpler: ease. Under an anticyclone, the skies are often clear. Clouds find it difficult to form here because the air is sinking, slowly, steadily, and as it sinks, it warms and dries. This warming prevents condensation, prevents lift, prevents motion, and so the skies open wide, blue and still by day, calm and starlit by night. Winds around an anticyclone spiral outward, clockwise in the northern hemisphere, counterclockwise in the southern. But the motion is lazy, drawn out, unhurried. These are not the swirling arms of hurricanes, nor the chaotic scatter of thunderstorms. They are soft breezes, perhaps brushing across a lake's surface, perhaps drifting through an open window at sunset. Beneath these high-pressure systems, life often slows. The air feels gentle, the days stretch quietly, the landscape seems to breathe in its own time. Farmers may notice morning dew evaporating quickly. Gardeners may feel the soil dry. But there's a comfort too, the kind of weather that invites picnics, sunlight on closed eyelids, books read, beneath trees. Anticyclones can linger. They are in no rush to move. Their boundaries may drift, but their centers hold steady, settling over regions for days, sometimes weeks. And while prolonged stillness can lead to dry spells, there's something undeniably peaceful about a sky untouched by disturbance. In winter, anticyclones can bring crisp, cold mornings, the kind where the frost paints delicate patterns on windows, and each breath rises like a ghost in the dawn. In summer, they bring sunlit afternoons, where the shade is cool, the grass is warm, and the air hums with gentle life. Meteorologists see anticyclones as stabilizers, quiet architects of the forecast. They shape jet streams, steer clouds, slow storms. And all the while, they remain so very still. So tonight, imagine lying beneath one. The air is steady, the wind is barely there. The sky above is soft and endless, a dome of gentle clarity. You feel the weight of the high pressure above, not as a burden, but as comfort, as presence, as a hand resting lightly over the land. Let your body settle into that stillness. Let your breath slow, matching the quiet rhythm of the atmosphere above you. No motion needed, no sound but your own soft exhale. This is the anticyclone, the high-pressure hush, the calm between storms, the quiet space where clouds don't gather and the sky rests, just like you. Let it cradle you now. Let it hold you. Let it remind you that there is beauty not only in motion, but in the stillness between. Now, let's drift into something subtle, something you cannot touch, yet it shapes the wind's every curve. A quiet force, not loud or sudden, but always there, gently turning the air. This is the Coriolis effect, a soft nudge from the planet's own spin, a delicate guide, bending the paths of winds across oceans and continents, drawing great circles in the sky. Though the earth spins quickly beneath our feet, we do not feel it. There's no wobble, no sway, just the steady rhythm of night turning into day. But to the atmosphere above, to the vast seas of air always on the move, this spin matters deeply. Imagine standing at the equator. Here, the ground beneath you is moving fast. As the planet turns, you travel a great distance in space, even while you stand still. But near the poles, that spin slows. The surface moves less, the circle smaller, and so. When air moves from one part of the Earth to another, it doesn't travel in a straight line, because the Earth is turning underneath it. Instead, the air bends, gently always gently, to the right in the northern hemisphere, to the left in the southern, a graceful arc, a soft spiral. This is the Coriolis effect, not a push, but a quiet curve. And from this quiet curve, weather patterns emerge. Trade winds near the equator blow from the east, bent by the planets turning. Storms swirl counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, clockwise in the southern. Jet streams twist and snake across the globe, carved by this gentle force. It is why hurricanes spin, why cyclones curve, why winds trace spirals in the sky. And yet, it's not a force you can feel. It doesn't tug on your hair or pull at your clothes. It whispers only to air in motion. It shapes only the path, never the speed. In meteorology, it helps us understand the balance of forces between pressure, wind, and rotation. We call it geostrophic balance, where air flows parallel to isobars, curved, graceful, never rushing. It is the balance between push and pull, between straight lines and turning paths, a quiet choreography happening all the time. So tonight, imagine yourself floating high above the earth. You watch a breeze begin its journey, moving from high pressure to low, but it doesn't go directly. It turns, just a little, a gentle arc across the sky. Over oceans, over hills, this bend becomes beauty. Clouds form in curves, storms spin like seashells. Even the air we breathe has rhythm. Let that rhythm settle into you. Let the idea of turning winds soothe your thoughts, not as something chaotic, but as a pattern, a quiet response to something deeper. Because the earth does not shout, it simply spins, and the air, in turn, responds, drawing spirals in silence, writing invisible poetry in motion. This is the Coriolis effect, the gentle curve in the wind's path, not forced, not rushed, just guided by the turn of the world. And tonight, as you rest, perhaps you too can feel that curve, a slow spiral of breath carrying you softly into sleep. Let us turn now to something quiet, subtle, and hidden in the sky, a difference not seen but felt, a shift in motion between layers, a soft sliding of air upon air. This is wind shear, a change in wind speed or direction from one level of the atmosphere to another. At first glance, the sky may seem still, a single expanse of open air, glowing blue or dimmed in twilight. But above us, the atmosphere moves in layers, each flowing at its own pace, in its own direction, like invisible rivers gliding over one another. Near the surface, the wind may drift gently from the west. A few hundred meters above, it may move faster, perhaps from the southwest. Farther up, a stronger current, shaped by pressure and the curve of the earth, flows in yet another path. These are not sharp changes, not jolts, but gradients, quiet transitions from one rhythm to the next. Wind shear is this difference, a soft contrast, a sliding of the atmosphere, layer upon layer, each dancing to a slightly different tune. To the eye, it remains invisible, but to clouds, to storms, to birds and planes and drifting balloons, wind shear makes its presence known. It can stretch a cloud, tilt a thunderstorm, guide a gust front into motion. In some cases, it can suppress storms, pulling the tops of clouds away from their base, disrupting their vertical growth. In others, it can help organize the rotation within a storm, encouraging gentle spirals to form aloft, which, in rare cases, may help create something stronger. But always, wind shear is about balance, not force, not noise, just difference. Pilots feel it as subtle changes in lift, as turbulence when crossing from one layer to the next. Migrating birds adjust their wings, rising or dipping to find the smoothest flow. Weather balloons, released into the evening sky, record these shifts as they rise, a profile of winds drawn like lines on a graph, curving ever so slightly with height. Meteorologists study these profiles carefully, not just for storms, but for insight, for they show how the atmosphere is moving, not just at the surface, but through its quiet layers above. And for all its technical detail, wind shear is deeply poetic. It is the atmosphere's reminder that not everything moves the same way, that variation is natural, and harmony does not always mean sameness. So tonight, let us imagine floating upward. You rise slowly through the stillness of dusk, past treetops and rooftops, into the layered air above. With each meter, the wind feels different, a little faster, a little cooler, a little more from the east, or perhaps the north. You pass through gradients, like silk sheets drifting past, each layer soft, each shift gentle. And in this invisible motion, you find rhythm, you find flow. Let this thought carry you into stillness. Let it remind you that change can be quiet, that transitions can be soft, that even when we cannot see it, the world is always moving, always adjusting, layer by layer. This is wind shear, the invisible shift, the sky's quiet slide from one breath to the next. Let us turn now to something soft, something you've likely felt 1,000 times, but perhaps never paused to wonder about. A breeze. Not the gust before a storm, not the whipping wind of a mountain top, but the breeze that wanders through a garden at dusk. The breeze that finds you on a porch in spring. The breeze that lifts a curtain and leaves it swaying. What makes wind soft? To answer that, we must look gently into the science of motion, because even the lightest breeze is shaped by quiet physics, layered processes, and the subtle influence of the world below. Wind, at its heart, is the movement of air from one pressure to another. Wherever there is imbalance between warm and cool, between high pressure and low, the atmosphere seeks to even it out. Air begins to move, to smooth the contrast, to bring balance back to the sky. But what decides the character of that movement? Why does it sometimes roar, and other times barely whisper? Often, the answer lies in three things: thermals, friction, and landscape. Let's begin with thermals. When sunlight touches the earth, it does not warm everything equally. Dark soil absorbs more heat than a meadow. Stone warms faster than water, and as those surfaces heat the air above them, that warm air rises. These slow, upward currents are called thermals, columns of air lifting gently into the sky, displacing the cooler air around them, and setting small breezes into motion. A gentle breeze may begin not with wind racing across a plain, but with a patch of earth warming under sun, sending a quiet ripple upward, felt only as a soft brush on your skin. Next comes friction. The surface of the earth isn't smooth, it is textured with forests, hills, homes, grasses, and trees. As air flows over these features, it is slowed, softened, diffused. Friction near the surface slows wind down. It rounds the edges. It turns a strong flow into something kinder. Especially at dawn and dusk, when the atmosphere becomes more stable, the wind settles into a calmer rhythm. And finally, the landscape itself. Valleys funnel air gently, forests muffle motion, lakes cool the breeze, while open fields let it wander more freely. Each feature touches the wind in a different way, either amplifying or softening its voice. In coastal regions, a breeze may come inland from the sea, carrying the memory of waves and salt and distance. Over hills, it may bend and wrap, shaped by the rise and fall of the land. And in cities, it might weave through alleyways and rooftops, breaking into patterns all its own. All of this combines to create the gentle breezes we feel, winds that don't demand attention but offer company. They stir leaves in soft rhythm. They carry scents of pine, of lilac, of rain. They cool the skin just enough. They let wind chimes sing. So tonight, as you rest, imagine a breeze rising from warm soil, moving slowly across a quiet meadow, curving gently through trees and brushing past your face like a passing thought. Let it soothe you, let it explain nothing, and still make perfect sense. This is the science of gentle breezes, born from warmth, shaped by the land, softened by the earth itself. A quiet movement, from balance to breath. Let us drift now into the cool side of wind's touch, not into storms or wild gusts, but into something far more personal, something we have all felt, yet rarely paused to understand. The wind chill. It does not blow loudly. It does not arrive with force. Instead, it moves softly, but takes something with it. It is the quiet thief of warmth. To understand wind chill, we must begin with a simple truth. Your body is always trying to stay warm. Even when it is cold outside, you create a thin layer of heat around your skin, a soft, invisible cocoon, a boundary between you and the world. But when the wind arrives, it brushes that warm layer away. Not all at once, not harshly, just enough, over and over again. With every pass, it carries a little warmth with it, and your body must work to restore it, quietly, constantly. This is what wind chill describes, not the temperature of the air, but how that air feels when it moves. For example, if the thermometer says 0 degrees Celsius, but the wind is steady and cold, it may feel more like -5, or even -10. The air has not changed, but the experience has. The comfort fades. The warmth escapes faster. Meteorologists measure this using a special formula, one that considers both wind speed and air temperature. It gives us the apparent temperature, a number that reflects not just what the air is, but what it does. At a gentle breeze of 10 kilometers per hour, you may only notice a slight coolness. But at 30 or 40 kilometers per hour, the warmth leaves your skin much more quickly. The chill deepens, the shiver begins. And yet, even here, in this story of loss, there is beauty, because wind chill is not chaos. It is not sudden. It follows rules. It speaks in gradients. And it reminds us, gently, that our warmth is precious, that we are sensitive beings, designed to notice even the subtlest shifts in the world around us. You may have felt it stepping outside on a winter morning. The air is crisp, the wind is light, and yet your cheeks tingle, your fingers withdraw, your breath curls more tightly with each exhale. It is not discomfort. Not if you are wrapped warmly. It is simply a signal, a sensation, a whisper from the wind that you are not alone. Even clothing responds. Scarves slow the wind. Coats trap the warmth. Hats guard the heat from rising. We adapt. We adjust. We carry warmth with us, like a small, flickering flame. And the wind, for its part, does not mean harm. It is not a thief by choice, only by nature. It brushes past us, as it does mountains and trees and rooftops, cooling what is warm, balancing what is uneven. So tonight, imagine yourself wrapped in a blanket, a breeze drifting gently past the window. Outside, the wind touches the air, pulling just a little heat from the world. Not harshly, not coldly, just honestly. Let it remind you of your own warmth, of how carefully you hold it, of how quietly the world moves around you. This is wind chill, the softness behind the shiver, the science of sensation, the math of comfort. A story told not in degrees, but in feeling. Come with me now, into the forest, a place where the wind does not simply move, it sings. Not with thunderous force, but in hushed tones, like a lullaby whispered through leaves. Here, among the trunks and branches, wind finds its own language. It threads its way through pine needles, caresses broad maple leaves, and glides along slender birch limbs. Each type of tree offers a different voice, a different note in the wind's orchestra. The tall evergreens, with their narrow needles, create a gentle hiss, like steam rising from a morning cup of tea. Broad-leafed trees flutter and rustle, their surfaces catching the breeze like tiny sails. Even bare winter branches, with no leaves at all, can creak softly as the wind slides past, a sleepy wooden sigh beneath the moonlight. This symphony begins with a concept called canopy turbulence, the way air moves as it enters the forest. Above the treetops, wind flows freely, smooth and mostly unbroken. But as it meets the canopy, it begins to ripple, to curl, to weave. Like a river hitting rocks, it is shaped by resistance, slowed by friction, guided by form. Some gusts slip between gaps in the leaves. Others dip into clearings. Many rise and fall along the contours of the terrain, creating small eddies, swirls of air that dance unseen, but not unheard, because the forest listens, and then it responds. Even in stillness, a tree holds memory. When wind returns, the branches remember how to sway. Leaves begin their soft percussion, a delicate rattling like fingers on linen. The whole grove becomes an instrument, tuned not by strings or keys, but by the passing air. And have you ever noticed how different wind sounds on a rainy day, or at dusk, or deep into the night? Moist air carries sound differently, more richly, more closely. In a damp forest, the rustle becomes a murmur, the creak more mellow. The breath of the trees slows to match the hush of the rain. At night, the winds often settle, but when they do arrive, they come softer, cooler, and the forest receives them gently, each bough bending as if to welcome an old friend. There is science in all of this, of course. Botanists and meteorologists study the way wind interacts with vegetation. They measure drag coefficients, leaf flutter dynamics, canopy height, and surface roughness. But for us, tonight, the story is simpler. Wind, when filtered through trees, becomes music. It becomes rhythm. It becomes comfort. It might remind you of childhood walks, when the world felt big and your footsteps small, or moments on a porch swing, eyes closed, just listening. Not to words, but to movement. Even now, if you listen closely, maybe there is a breeze outside your window, or perhaps only the memory of one, a whisper in your mind of wind in the trees. Let it soothe you. Let it settle across your thoughts like dappled moonlight through leaves. This is how forests breathe. This is how wind speaks, not in gusts and gales, but in whispers, in sighs, in hushes. And the trees? They always listen. They always remember. They always sing back. Let's drift now into a different kind of forest. One not made of trees, but of concrete, glass, and steel. A vertical landscape of towers, rooftops, ledges, and corners, each one catching the wind in its own quiet way. Even here, in the heart of the built environment, the wind moves softly. It adapts. It weaves through alleys like a curious traveler, climbs walls with invisible hands, and brushes past windows with size too gentle to name. Buildings may seem solid and unmoving, but to the wind, they are instruments. And like trees in a forest, they reshape the flow of air, changing its pace, its texture, and its voice. When breeze meets a wall, it slows. When it turns a corner, it curls. When it slides between buildings, it accelerates, creating little jets of motion, soft bursts of breeze that dance through city streets and flicker against fabric and skin. These changes in flow are part of something called urban aerodynamics, a field that studies how architecture affects wind behavior. The gaps between buildings form what meteorologists call urban canyons, narrow corridors where air funnels, twists, and sometimes lingers. And above it all, at rooftop level, the winds often return to their freer form, gliding over the skyline like rivers through mountains. But what we feel, what we hear, is more subtle. A whistle from a window left cracked open, a low hum between glass panels, a faint moan rising from a metal duct. These are not sounds of alarm, they are lullabies of architecture, songs of structure and sky. Have you ever paused beside an old building during a windy night? Listened as the air found its way through crevices, echoed along stairwells, or made gentle music between fire escapes and railings. Each element has its own voice. Even a flagpole may sing. A balcony might catch the breeze like a sail, briefly trembling with motion, then returning to stillness. Wind speed plays a role here. At lower speeds, air may pass silently, barely noticed. But as it increases, the frequencies change and the built world begins to respond. Resonance, it's called, the matching of wind's rhythm with the natural frequency of a structure. Not enough to move it, just enough to make it speak, and sometimes the city itself becomes a conductor. When the streets are quiet and the sky darkens into evening, the breeze moves unbothered. It sighs between parked cars, slips beneath awnings, and nudges gently against the side of a sleeping apartment. For those inside, it may be barely audible, just a faint murmur, the softest brushing against the glass. For others, it may be a comfort, a sign that outside, the world is breathing. It's easy to forget that wind is not a single sound. It is many, a spectrum of whispers shaped by surface, scale, and space. In vast forests, it rustles. In open fields, it shimmers. And here, in cities, it hums. It harmonizes with architecture, finding hidden flutes in stairwells, low brass in parking garages, and string-like harmonics in the thin wires of rooftop antennas. Even the largest skyscraper sways ever so slightly, responding to the wind like a reed in a pond. Engineers build in this movement, not to fight the wind, but to dance with it. And so, when night falls and the air begins its slow descent into sleep, the city breathes too. It listens. It resonates. The sound of wind in architecture is not loud. It doesn't need to be. It is subtle, soft, and always present. A quiet duet between human design and nature's breath. Close your eyes, and you might hear it now. The gentle hush of breeze sliding past the world we've built. A lullaby made of windows, towers, and time. Let's take a slow step back through time now, to listen, not just to the winds of tonight, but to those that came long before, to the winds that shaped not only weather, but memory. For even the strongest winds, once howling and fierce, eventually soften into stories. And those stories, they drift through history like fallen leaves on the breeze. Tonight, we remember them gently, not with urgency, not with fear, but with reverence, as if paging through an old journal where each gust has left its mark. Let's begin with the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, a time when wind and land fell out of harmony. The dry plains of North America, once rich with grasses, had been ploughed bare, and when the rains failed, the soil loosened, and the wind arrived. Soft at first, then stronger, then relentless. Winds lifted the topsoil into the sky, not in anger, but in a kind of tired sadness. The horizon turned sepia, homes darkened at midday, and families learned to live with the sound of wind and grit at the door. It became known as Black Sunday, one of many days when the sky turned to dust. But now, almost a century later, those winds have quieted, and the stories they carried remain. Lessons in balance, in care, in listening to the land. Further east, across the oceans, we find the memory of the Great Storm of 1703 in England, one of the most powerful windstorms ever recorded in the British Isles. It struck with sudden force, toppling chimneys, splintering ships, and altering landscapes. And yet, time has smoothed its edges. The terror has faded. What remains are the chronicles, carefully written observations, letters, and weather journals, the beginning whispers of meteorology as we know it today. Even the wind can teach, if we listen long enough. Now, let's move to the shores of Bangladesh, where cyclones have long been part of the rhythm of life. The Bola cyclone of 1970, gently remembered now for its scale and sorrow, carried winds over 200 kilometers per hour. Its winds and waves reshaped entire coastlines. But even here, we remember softly, not in numbers, but in resilience, in how communities rebuild, in how the air, after devastation, can carry renewal. There are stories, too, of wind-shaping cities. The storm of 1900 in Galveston, Texas, changed how coastal towns were built. Engineers studied the winds, barriers rose, and again, the wind became a teacher, not loud, not cruel, just powerful. And power, when remembered gently, becomes wisdom. Some winds leave behind no tragedy, only awe. Like the fastest recorded gust on Earth, measured at 407 kilometers per hour on Barrow Island, Australia. Or the steady, elegant force of the Mistral in France, which, though strong, brings clear skies and clean air. Windstorms do not always mean danger. Sometimes they mean clarity. Sometimes they mean change. Tonight, we don't relive their fear, we trace their fingerprints. On rooftops, on coastlines, in books, and in memories. Wind is never still for long, but its stories settle like snow. They become part of us. They remind us of how weather shapes the world, and how gently we must hold the past. So, let the winds of history lull you now. No longer loud, no longer rushing, only whispering through time. Rest with them, float with them. Let the soft hush of yesterday's windstorms carry you gently towards sleep. Tonight, let's leave Earth for a little while. Not in a rush, but with gentle curiosity. Let's drift outward, beyond blue skies and tropospheres, beyond cloud layers and familiar gusts, and imagine what the wind feels like on other worlds. For even in the far reaches of the solar system, where no trees bend and no oceans ripple, winds still blow, subtle, strange, timeless. Let's begin with Mars, our red neighbor, cold, dry, silent to human ears, but not without air. The Martian atmosphere is thin, less than 1% the density of Earth's, but it moves, and when it does, it stirs fine dust into the sky, lifting ochre grains and whispering across barren plains. Winds on Mars can reach over 100 kilometers per hour, but with such a thin atmosphere, they carry little force, more like a breath than a push. And yet, over time, they sculpt, they carve the sand, they create dunes that crawl slowly across the surface, silent travelers across an alien desert. Sometimes, these winds grow restless, triggering dust storms that engulf the planet. Not in fury, but in slow-motion vastness. A dimming of the sun, a planet wrapped in a reddish haze, as if Mars itself is dreaming behind a veil. Now, let's drift farther, to a giant, Jupiter, the king of planets, a swirling world of gases with no solid ground, no surface to stand upon. And here, the winds are something else entirely. They spin in belts and zones, each band circling the planet in opposite directions, like rivers within rivers. Winds near Jupiter's equator can blow at over 600 kilometers per hour, beyond anything we experience on Earth. And towering within this chaos is the Great Red Spot, a vast storm larger than our entire planet that has raged for centuries, possibly longer. Imagine that. A wind that began before telescopes, still turning today. An atmosphere so deep, so complex, that it sings in bands of colour and motion. And though we can't hear it, we know it is moving, always moving. Next to Venus, so close to Earth in size, yet utterly different. Its winds circle the planet in what scientists call superrotation, completing a full circuit in just 4 Earth days, even though the planet itself spins much more slowly. The Venusian winds rush through thick clouds of sulfuric acid, blowing at speeds over 300 kilometers per hour. But beneath those clouds, near the surface, it is almost still, a strange stillness hidden beneath a turbulent sky. And then to the icy giants, Uranus and Neptune, where winds can become the fastest in the solar system, over 2,000 kilometers per hour on Neptune. But these winds move through frigid, bluish atmospheres, beneath faint suns, in regions where a whisper of motion feels like a howl against the cold. And yet, even there, in the farthest reaches, wind remains. Air in motion, a planetary breath. Each world has its own rhythm, its own symphony of movement, some violent, some faint, all deeply mysterious. And so tonight, we imagine those winds not as hostile forces, but as distant lullabies, the breath of alien skies, soft echoes from planets we may never walk upon, but whose stories we can still feel. In the hush of thought, in the stillness of night, let your mind drift now, float through Martian dust, spin through Jupiter's bands, hover in Neptune's blue quiet. The winds out there may never touch your skin, but they can still whisper to your dreams. Names carry meaning, they carry memory, and when it comes to wind, they carry poetry. Throughout time, across cultures and continents, humans have given names to the winds, not just for navigation or survival, but to make sense of invisible motion, to give identity to the unseen, to turn the breath of the world into something personal, something remembered. Tonight, we'll drift softly through the language of wind, a gentle journey across names whispered by sailors, farmers, poets, and skywatchers, each one a thread in the great global tapestry of air. Let's begin with a name you may already know. Zephyr, from ancient Greece, a soft, westerly breeze. It was said to be the gentlest of the Anemoi, the 4 wind gods. Zephyrus brought the early warmth of spring, caressing the petals of blooming fields, carrying the scent of waking earth. To this day, Zephyr means more than just wind. It means softness, mildness, a breath barely there, a poetic sigh on the edge of morning. Then there's the Bora, from the Adriatic coast. This wind descends from the mountains, cold, dry, and sudden. It whistles through Croatian seaside towns, through stone villages, and along steep cliffs. The word comes from Boreas, the Greek god of the north wind. And though the Bora can be strong, Its name has a crispness to it, a chill in the consonants, a firmness in the sound. You can almost feel it in the word itself. Short, brisk, like the gust it describes. From West Africa comes the harmattan, a dry, dusty wind that blows from the Sahara toward the Atlantic Ocean during the winter months. Its name is gentle on the tongue, yet it carries particles of desert thousands of miles. It paints the skies in muted hues, softening the sun, cooling the air. For many, the harmattan marks a season, a time of change, and its name carries with it centuries of tradition, of rhythm, of respect for the elements. And what about Mistral, the cold wind of southern France? It rushes down the Rhône Valley toward the Mediterranean Sea. Its name means masterly, and it certainly is. Powerful, yes, but cleansing, clear. Farmers say it blows away the clouds, leaving skies so blue they feel newly painted. The Mistral is not feared, but welcomed, a guest with purpose. Across the globe, winds have been given names that sound like stories. Sirocco, from the Sahara, blowing into Europe with warm, dusty breath. Chinook, the snow eater of the Rockies, melting winter into spring overnight. Levanta, from the east, bringing moisture to the shores of Gibraltar. Each one a name with history, with feeling, and sometimes the names are local, spoken only in valleys or villages, passed down without being written, just wind and memory, and a word to bind them. Why do we name the wind? Perhaps because it moves us, it touches our skin, it stirs our skies, and though we cannot see it, we feel its presence, its mood, its pattern, its story. Naming the wind is how we listen to it, how we hold it close, how we make sense of the world in motion. So tonight, as wind moves gently through your own corner of the world, perhaps you'll think of it not just as air, but as something with character, a name, a past. Maybe it is a zephyr, or a bora, or simply a breeze too shy to be named. Whatever it is, let it move through your thoughts like a whispered lullaby, soft, unseen, but never forgotten. Let us drift now, not just across the sky, but back in time, far beyond radar and satellites, before barometers or jet streams, to a time when the wind was not measured, but imagined, not analysed, but honoured. Tonight, we float into the myths, into the quiet spaces where air had meaning, where wind was more than weather, it was spirit, messenger, deity. In many ancient cultures, the wind had a name, a face, and a purpose. To the ancient Greeks, the sky was ruled by the Anemoi, the four wind gods. Each direction had a presence. Boreas, from the north, was powerful and cold, ushering in winter with rushing breath. Notus, from the south, was humid and heavy, bringing the storms of late summer. Eurus, from the east, a bringer of change. And Zephyrus, the west wind, gentle, fragrant, and soft. He was the harbinger of spring, a friend to flowers, a lover to the goddess of dawn. These winds were not merely air currents. They were stories in motion, each one with a mood, a rhythm, a season. And across the sea in Egypt, wind was breath, the breath of the gods themselves. Shu, the god of air, stood between earth and sky, holding them apart with invisible arms. His presence was not loud, but essential. He was the space between the calm, the stillness that allowed creation to continue. The Hebrews spoke of ruach, a word that meant wind, but also spirit and life force. It moved across the waters in the beginning. It carried the unseen. It whispered truth into the ears of prophets. In Norse myth, the wind could be wild. The sky was a place of gods and giants, storms and strength. But even there, wind had order. It came from Njord, god of sea and wind, a calming force for sailors. His breeze could fill sails, or carry prayers across waves. In Japan, Fujin carried wind in a great bag, a swirling divine force, sometimes unruly, sometimes benevolent. He stood at the gateway of storms, a guardian with hair like gusts and robes that moved like thunderclouds. In many indigenous cultures across the Americas, wind was not merely a background element. It was sacred, a voice of the Great Spirit. The wind told stories. It warned of change. It comforted in grief. It was listened to with care, for wind was always speaking, if one knew how to hear. Even in the softest breeze, ancient peoples felt presence, meaning they saw wind as an actor, not passive, but alive. It carried pollen, yes, but it also carried souls, prayers, secrets between lovers, the laughter of children, and the final sighs of elders returning to the sky. Tonight, as you rest, imagine the myths that swirled in ancient air. Each gust, a story, each breeze, a whisper from the past. Close your eyes and feel the quiet presence of the wind outside. Not just as science, but as something sacred, as something old, a messenger perhaps, a spirit passing gently by. Not in haste, but in grace. And let that thought settle in your breath. The ancient, invisible companion that has moved through every age, every story, every sleep. Not all things that move can be seen, and not all things that whisper leave a mark. But for centuries, humanity has quietly studied the wind. With simple tools, quiet instruments, and a sense of listening that feels almost like reverence. Tonight, let's rest inside that listening. Let's drift among the devices that help us sense the invisible, those that read the rhythms of air, measure its pace, and trace its direction. First, the wind vane, also called a weathercock. You've likely seen one, a little arrow spinning atop a barn, or perhaps a silhouette of a rooster gently turning toward the breeze. These are some of the oldest tools in meteorology. Simple, graceful, balanced. Wind vanes don't catch the wind like sails. They align with it. They turn ever so subtly until the breeze no longer pushes. And in that stillness, they reveal the wind's direction. North, south, east, west, or something in between. It's not a forceful action, just a gentle agreement with the air. The vane doesn't fight the wind, it listens. Nearby, often mounted just below, you might find the anemometer. This is the wind speedometer, a small, clever machine that spins as wind rushes past. There are many kinds, but the classic version looks like 3 or 4 tiny cups spinning on horizontal arms. The faster the cups turn, the faster the wind must be blowing. And here's the lovely part. The anemometer doesn't demand wind to act. It simply allows it. It welcomes the gust, feels its energy, and dances with it. Each spin is a story. Each turn, a whisper translated into motion. Some anemometers today use sound, ultrasonic pulses bouncing between tiny sensors, to calculate wind speed with no moving parts at all. Silent listening, like hearing the air, with math. Now, let's step back and feel the pressure. For wind is not just a matter of motion, it is born from differences in pressure. And to read this, we turn to another gentle instrument, the barometer. The barometer doesn't spin, it doesn't flutter, it sits, quiet, observant. There are mercury barometers, tall glass tubes where liquid rises and falls with air's weight, and aneroid barometers, sealed metal chambers that compress ever so slightly as pressure changes around them. When pressure is high, the sky is usually calm. When it's low, weather may be stirring. But the barometer doesn't predict, it reveals. It lets us feel what the atmosphere feels. The push, the pull, the gentle press of air upon the earth. In modern times, we also use weather balloons. Released into the sky like floating questions, they carry tiny sensors into the upper atmosphere, measuring temperature, humidity, and yes, wind. They don't resist the currents. They become part of them, drifting, rising, transmitting soft data from high above the clouds. Even satellites now watch wind from orbit, tracing the flow of clouds, tracking dust plumes across oceans, watching trees sway from space, tools watching the breath of Earth from the edge of the sky. And then there's you, your skin, your cheek, your ear. You are an instrument too. You can feel the wind's speed. You can hear its tone. You can tell when it changes, from warm to cool, from soft to sharp, from steady to still. So tonight, as you lie still, think of all the ways we listen to the air, with copper and glass, with spinning cups and humming sensors, with stories and with silence. The wind moves, and someone is always listening. Let that comfort you. The atmosphere is being heard. Its whispers are not lost, and neither are yours. Not all motion begins with engines. Not every journey starts with a roar. Some begin with a whisper, a breath, a shift in the invisible, and the quiet trust that wind will carry you. Tonight, let's drift through the soft stories of travel powered by air. No fuel, no rush, just the open sky, the waiting sea, and the steady guidance of wind. We begin on the water, where humankind first learned to read the wind's hand. Picture a tall masted sailing ship, its canvas unfurling in the morning light. The sails fill gently, gradually, as the wind stretches across the ocean's skin. The ship leans slightly, its wooden hull creaking with a comfort born from centuries of practice. It doesn't fight the wind, it works with it, tilting the sails just so, adjusting to the breeze like a dancer following a silent rhythm. Navigators of old knew the names of winds. They charted courses not by speed, but by softness, by the angle of a breeze, by the smell of the sea, by the way the gulls flew. The trade winds pulled them west. The westerlies guided them home. A voyage not forced, but found. Above the sea, we rise into the open sky, where modern wings drift without motors. Gliders, silent sailplanes, light as a thought, riding the invisible thermals that rise from sun-warmed ground. To fly a glider is to feel the air's texture, not just its speed, but its mood. A skilled pilot reads the sky the way a poet reads a pause, circling gently within rising air, turning to follow subtle uplifts along ridges, letting the breeze do the work. These are not flights of power, they are flights of partnership, the glider and the wind, co-creating motion. Even hot air balloons, those drifting giants of skyward dreaming, find their path not by steering, but by rising or falling into different layers of wind. Each altitude, a new direction, a new choice, but always chosen with gentleness. Wind-powered journeys are not about control, they are about harmony. The sailor does not command the sea, the pilot does not bend the sky. They listen, they adjust, they let go. And sometimes, even on land, wind carries us. Picture a broad desert flat under golden light, and a land sailor, wheels spinning beneath a sail. Or a child with a simple kite, running against the breeze, watching it rise like joy made visible. Even the fluttering of laundry on a line is a kind of dance with the air. Wind has always invited us to move, and we, when we are quiet enough to listen, sometimes say yes. In recent years, we've begun to capture wind's power for energy. Vast turbines, turning slowly across open plains and offshore stretches, blades moving with a calm, rhythmic grace. But before that, long before electricity, wind moved us. It carried us across unknown seas, lifted us into quiet skies, helped us discover new places and return home. And tonight, as you drift toward rest, perhaps you too are traveling, carried not by footsteps or flights, but by imagination, by breath, by story, by the soft push of a wind that asks nothing from you, only to let it carry you. Just a little farther. Close your eyes now. Feel the motion, slow and silent. Your sails are full. The sky is steady, and the wind knows the way. Let it guide you. The sky is not empty. It is filled with layers of air, rising and falling, warming and cooling, drifting and circling. And within that soft, unseen architecture, birds fly. They do not power through the wind. They ride it, read it, feel it. Like water to a fish, the sky is their home, a medium, not a barrier. Tonight, we'll lift gently into the wind, not with feathers of our own, but with wonder. We'll rise beside gliding wings, tracing the graceful partnership between wind and bird. Some birds flap, yes, but many soar. Think of a hawk in the high midday light, circling upward without a single beat of its wings. How does it rise with such ease? The answer lies in the air itself. Thermals, those warm currents that rise from sunlit ground, are invisible elevators. As the earth warms unevenly, certain surfaces, rock, pavement, fields, heat faster than others. That heat lifts the air above it, creating columns of upward motion. Birds find them, not by sight, but by feel. They tip a wing, turn a shoulder, and catch the lift. Spiraling higher and higher, they conserve energy, letting the atmosphere do the work. Vultures, eagles, storks, they all know the art of still flight. Their wings stretch wide, long and steady, perfectly designed to rest upon the air's shoulders. Gliding birds use wind like a river, searching for streams of upward motion, sometimes thermals, sometimes ridge lift, where air strikes a hillside and turns upward. Along mountain slopes, seabirds ride wind waves that bounce off cliffs and ridge lines. Albatrosses skim ocean swells, barely flapping at all, sailing through gusts and silence alike, carried by the shape of wind sculpted by waves. Even the smallest birds feel it. Swifts, those tiny acrobats, weave through thermals and tailwinds, their light bodies adjusting mid-air to every puff, every swirl. Some birds migrate thousands of miles, not with brute force, but with wind as companion. They time their departures with favourable winds, catching tailwinds to speed their journey, climbing to great altitudes when needed, descending when the air grows dense. And they rest, not always on land, but sometimes on air itself, gliding, drifting, sleeping in flight. Wind is not just a convenience to birds. It is a guide, a map, a partner. Their feathers sense it, their instincts read it, their flight paths bend and flow with it. Some birds tuck their wings to dive, piercing headwinds like arrows through still water. Others hover, facing into the breeze, holding steady in place, wings fluttering against a motionless body. The balance is delicate, beautiful, beyond anything our machines can truly mimic. And yet, the principles they follow, lift, drag, thrust, gravity, are the same as ours, just expressed with elegance and instinct. So tonight, as you lie still, imagine being carried aloft, not by force, but by softness, not by effort, but by feel. You tilt slightly and rise. The world below grows small, the horizon wide. Wind curls beneath you, a quiet hand holding you in the sky. You're not flying to escape, only to understand, to rest, to float. Let the wings of the wind cradle you tonight, as they cradle every bird who dares to glide without fear. There's no rush, no noise, just the breath of the planet and the dance of those who trust it. So close your eyes, stretch wide in your imagination, and let yourself drift. You are already in flight, before wind begins, before the leaves stir, before the grass is lean. There is a moment, a hush, a delicate stillness that settles softly over the land and sea, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Tonight, we'll rest in that quiet space, the tender pause that comes just before movement. Before wind becomes a whisper or a rush, it is simply waiting. You may have felt it, perhaps while standing outside beneath an overcast sky, sensing that something is about to shift. Or in the early morning hours, when even the trees seem to sleep. Not a branch sways, not a petal moves. The stillness before wind is not empty. It is full with anticipation, with balance, with the quiet potential of motion not yet realized. Meteorologically, this stillness has a story. Wind is born of differences in pressure, in temperature, in energy. It begins when air moves from where it is dense to where it is light, from cool to warm, from high pressure to low. But before that movement, there is equilibrium, a brief moment when forces are held in near perfect balance. No gradient yet steep enough to stir the air, no contrast strong enough to provoke a flow. And in that pause, the atmosphere rests. Sometimes it happens before a storm, a calm that precedes a change. Not a warning, but a transition. The clouds thicken, the birds grow quiet, even the insects pause. The sky does not yet stir, it listens. In coastal towns, this stillness can arrive just before the sea breeze returns. A short lull, as land and water wait for the sun to tilt the balance once more. In mountain valleys, the stillness rests before the anabatic winds begin their gentle climb. The day is warming, but the slopes have not yet answered. And in wide open plains, this calm may stretch for hours, a serene spell before the next gentle gust arrives. There's something sacred in that stillness, something meditative, the way it invites awareness to the sound of your breath, to the softness of the moment. It reminds us that motion is not constant, that nature, like us, needs pauses, needs rest, needs silence. In music, the pause before the next note adds meaning. In stories, the silence before a word gives it weight. And in weather, the stillness before wind is part of the rhythm. It's the inhale before the breeze exhales, the quiet gathering of motion before it becomes movement. And sometimes it is all we need, to be still, to notice, to feel the softness of nothing happening. Tonight, let that stillness hold you. There's no need to chase the wind, no need to move. You're in the pause, the gentle space between breaths, between changes, between thoughts. This is a quiet sky, a restful earth, a calm moment in time. Let your body mirror the stillness. No effort, no reaching, just ease. The wind will come when it is ready. It always does. But for now, you are in the gentlest part of the atmosphere, the part that waits, the part that holds. And in that space, you are safe. So close your eyes. Feel the calm stretch outward, like a soft blanket laid across the land. You are resting before the breeze begins. Let the stillness carry you. As our journey draws to a close, we return to something simple, not science, not storms, but feeling, the wind as a lullaby. Because for all its physics and patterns, for all its names and causes, sometimes wind is just comfort. It is the soft hush at your window, the slow rock of a branch outside, the cool breath that drifts across your pillow at night. It is motion without demand. It is presence without weight. Wind, when it is gentle, has the power to calm us, to soothe us, to carry us, not across landscapes, but inward, toward rest, toward peace. Think of the soft rattle of leaves in the evening as the sun slips below the horizon. The way they seem to whisper, but never speak. The wind moves through them gently, never rushing, never loud, just enough to remind us that something is there, something tender, something watching. Or the sway of tall grass at dusk, a slow, rhythmical dance, guided not by music, but by breeze. These moments lull us, not because they explain the wind, but because they let us feel it. There's a reason so many sleep near windows left slightly open, why we seek breezes in hammocks or porches or sunlit nooks. Because wind, when it arrives in this soft and steady way, tells the body, you're safe now, you can rest. There is lullaby in that. In fact, many lullabies carry wind in their words. Rock-a-bye, hush-a-bye, go to sleep. The breeze outside often sings along, and perhaps it always has. Before song, before speech, before stories, there was wind. Wind was the first voice across the world. First to sigh through caves and trees. The first to hum through grasslands and over water. The first rhythm that rocked leaves to sleep, and babies too. Even now, in modern cities and quiet towns, the wind never quite leaves us. It brushes rooftops. It whispers past street corners. It gathers around homes like an old friend. And when night deepens, when everything grows quiet, it becomes even more noticeable. The hush between gusts, the gentle knock of a branch, the sighing creak of an eave. It's as if the world itself is singing a lullaby, not just for you, but for the trees, for the birds, for the sky. The wind doesn't ask you to listen. It simply offers itself, a background to your breathing, a partner to your sleep. And so, as you lie here now, eyes heavy, body still, let the wind rock you, not quickly, not forcefully, but gently, as if you are a leaf cradled on the softest breeze, drifting, not falling, floating, not rushing. Your thoughts can ride that breeze. Let them. Let each one lift and drift away. There's no need to follow them, no need to hold them. The wind will take care of them, just as it takes care of the world, rocking it softly, night after night. Tonight, let the wind be your lullaby. No questions, no noise, only calm, only motion as comfort, only softness as strength. You are held, you are safe, you are swaying gently with the world. And somewhere outside, a breeze whispers, "Good night." Let it carry you all the way to sleep. And as our gentle journey through the secret lives of winds comes to a close, I hope you found comfort in their quiet rhythms and whispered strength. May the wind be a soft companion near your window tonight. May it carry your dreams on currents as old as the sky itself. From mountaintops to ocean shores, from still valleys to distant planets, we've wandered slowly together through the soft motion of air. Not to chase storms or seek answers, but simply to listen, to feel, to rest. If these peaceful weather stories bring you comfort, you're always welcome to like or subscribe, but only if it feels light, gentle, and easy. No pressure, no rush, only calm skies and soft curiosity. For now, let your breath settle like calm air after a breeze. Let your thoughts drift, unhurried, like wind over quiet fields. Snuggle in, feel the hush gather around you like a blanket of stillness. Let the atmosphere cradle you in sleep. Good night, peaceful dreams, and calm skies to you, always.